Well, welcome everyone to our call. I know we have others coming and joining us as well because I've seen all the updates everyone's been writing in here as well. So good to see you guys. It has been like incredible month just from the point of view of activity and stuff happening. We are well into our final quarter now, and a lot of what I've been up to has been all the planning meetings, all of the forecasting for 2019, right? So we've been going through all of that, which I'm sure many of you have been starting to look at as well. So wherever there are things that are relating to that, we'll be covering them. We also have been going through some really interesting like deals that are in the $10 million to $100 million range, including our next beach club that we're buying, including what's happening with Genius U and the partnerships we're creating. So wherever that's relevant, I'll also share that as well. I also found out something at our Taiwan event where I went to Taiwan, and we actually had a record event from the point of view of our Entrepreneur Fast Tracks for the year, which was totally by surprise. And it was because of a number of different factors. But one was something I discovered by accident, that if I had actually done it earlier in the year, like it would have actually easily put $1 million plus on our bottom line, right? Just one thing. And I was like, wow, that's like, you always keep learning new stuff, right? So if anyone's looking at event strategies and anyone's got any questions around that, then I will let you know what that is as well. So a whole bunch of different things that we can draw out of the bag if they're relevant. And also, before we actually get started, let me also just share what has been going on within the world of Crystal Circle in the last month based on all the different calls we've had, so that you guys know that as well as what we go on this call, there are other things that you can actually catch up on, which could be really valuable as well. So the first thing I will point to is the Sapphire Circle. So this happened, so you guys remember last month, I was talking about Ray Dalio, who had come out at that point when the stock market was booming and was saying, look, watch out, the crash is coming, right? And he's like one of the top like traders in the world. And also it was the 10th anniversary of the global financial crisis, and Bernanke, Paulson, the top guys from 10 years ago wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying all the conditions are ripe for major disruption and something even bigger than what happened 10 years ago. And within 1 month of that happening, as many of you might have been noticing, we have had the most volatility in the stock market ever. Like within the last month, we've had one day, which was the third biggest drop point of the Dow in history. This week, we have had a drop in the Dow, which has wiped out all of the gains of all of 2018. So pretty much the entire year, the whole year has been wiped out in one day. So like we're seeing the beginning of the same volatility that took place 10 years ago, which went on for about a month or two before the whole thing just crashed, right? So just be really aware that we talked about that, and we kind of said, well, what are the strategies to follow in times like this where nothing's predictable and things could go horribly, horribly wrong? And the answer is cash flow strategies, right? So like how do you actually make sure that you're able to be good no matter what? If suddenly your revenues drop by half, are you good, right? Have you set it up in such a way that you've actually got cash flow strategies that are going to manage it through, right? So that's what we've been doing with all our companies. We're being very defensive while also being offensive, right? Like doing both sides. And I also was sharing this, which I think is like super duper important. And it's why I'm actually spending a time on every one of the calls we're having, sharing this as well, that while there's this massive disruption, if you remember 10 years ago was also the time when the iPhone had just come out, when everyone started talking about Facebook and YouTube for the first time, right? Everyone is just going on, like some of you might now be getting 10-year anniversaries on Facebook because you joined 10 years ago. Like that was the very beginning of the second phase of the internet. And we're about to hit the third phase. And the story here was the Saudi Arabia story of investing $45 billion in SoftBank. You guys have seen the video that I share around this, where a year ago, Masayoshi Son managed to get $45 billion in 45 minutes. Well, Saudi just invested another $45 billion. So it's like the second round. So now they've invested $90 billion. And it was because Masayoshi Son had taken the first $45 billion and within 1 year had 10 times it. So like taking it to over 400 billion. And the actual articles are in here because we went through it in the Sapphire call, because we had quite a few of the Sapphire members that are capitalizing their business. They've got pitch decks and they're getting the next round of funding. So definitely listen to the recording on this one. And at the very beginning, we go into a lot of detail about how he 10 times his investment. And the key thing here, and I'm just going to share here. Let me get a new link here. The key thing here is by Masayoshi Son understanding really well what's going on with the third phase of the internet, and so how he's investing in it. So if we actually just go through and say, well, phase one of the internet, which was really started in 1995, and everyone started noticing it by 98. That was the kind of like phase one, right? That was Web 1.0. So that was when we were all digital, which means the only way you could actually access the internet was you had to get onto a PC. So it was digital, but it was also PC based. There was no mobiles using it at that point. And it was all static, which basically meant that it was all about going to a website, which was pretty static. You might be able to click on some things. You couldn't really enter anything of your own information in other than like, your email address or your login. And then the whole thing was about access to the internet, or it was all about, access to certain, information. So by the end of that 10 years, by the time we get to 2005, we were at a point where the biggest companies were the likes of MySpace and AOL, right? And Yahoo, right? Those are the biggest companies. Companies like Google were just getting big. Companies like Amazon were just getting big, but people were pretty much looking at companies like that and saying they have no business model at that point. Facebook was just getting started. YouTube was just getting started. YouTube launched in 2005, right? So phase two, we had all these massive companies that have all disappeared now. And 2005, which was at the end of stage two, when we had all these companies, which actually really took off by '08, right? So by '08, which is kind of like 10 years ago, this is when it happened. And that was where we are now Web 2.0, which was different because it was still digital in that you had to still go online to access it. And it was all about an online experience, but now it's mobile. So it's beginning of mobile instead of PC. And instead of static, it was social, right? So it was much more about what we're entering in. And we're now at the end point of that, where we have got everyone criticizing the likes of Facebook. You might have just seen, WeChat is like having massive issues at the moment because it's actually dropping its user base now. You've got all of these companies that are now talking about the digital side. Google, Facebook, the biggest ones that are all based on social, mobile, and digital. They're at the moment like cornering 3/4 of the market. This will not be the case in 10 years' time because we're already seeing this new Web 3.0 that's starting out. And the Web 3.0 is very different, right? The Web 3.0, which is really started like 2015. That's when all of the VR, AR goggles started coming out. It was when sensors started actually tracking us wherever we were going. This is basically where now, today, we have what is much more not digital, but basically digital layer. It's what's called O2O, which is online to offline. Right, it's basically much more now about a layer, which is basically not going through PC or mobile, but it will be through goggles, it will be through augmented reality. It's already what happens when we're actually driving and we're just picking up the GPS and it's just telling us stuff about how long it's going to take us and what's going on in traffic jams. You're not actually having to look at a mobile phone or looking at a PC. And at the same time, it's something where for everyone that's involved in it, it's now about the interactions, right? It's not even about static or social, it's about marketplaces. So social was the word of platforms. Now you've got the likes of, like Amazon that's really taken off. And then you've got all these other companies, which are the ones which Master Sun is invested in, right? So here is a link which actually shows all of the money that they invested, their first 50 billion. And every one of these companies here, like Uber, is an O2O, right? It's not about how much FaceTime are you getting on or screen time are you getting on Uber. It's about just using it to just get a ride somewhere, right? Like, companies like WeWork is about doing exactly the same thing for where you want to work. Or Flipkart is like Amazon in India, is just to get your products. GM Cruise is just like a Tesla. Like, these are all the companies which are the ones that are all growing because they've got an offline product or an offline experience, and you're using the internet to actually enhance on that experience. So like all those complaints at the moment about millennials spending too much time looking at their phones, that will disappear in the next 10 years. I mean, mobile phones themselves will disappear in the next 10 years. So we're at the beginning of that. And at the moment, for many people, they can't conceive it. They're like, really? In the same way, at the beginning of social, no one could actually conceive that basically, YouTube, which was just showing cat videos, would end up becoming the second, biggest search engine in the world and the number one biggest use of data in the world, right? Like, who would have thought, right? But that is what's happened as a result of these three things, in the same way that companies that are going to be the biggest are going to be the ones that SoftBank's investing in, right? So just keep an eye out for those, because the things we're doing with like Genius U, for example, the way we're designing it is all about creating that experience. And again, if that's valid, if that's relevant, I'll share with you what we've just been doing recently with Genius U, which is what's going to get us to $30-40 million in revenues next year by actually taking this strategy as well, right? So couple of things just to keep your eye on out there, because it would be remiss of me not to be talking about these things as we go. We're now going to jump into everyone's updates. We're going to do it in the opposite way that we went through on the last call, and that means that we are going to be starting this time round with Glenn and Jane, whose highlight was seeing Magnetic Minds brand come to life. No published yet, but soon. Socials, platforms are up and running, websites to follow. Had exceptional feedback from clients regarding coaching. Deep work and truly been amazing. So awesome that you're doing it. All right. So question number one, EFT. Your message is regarding quality, which I agree with, but team are chasing numbers, but challenging to find both in a small city, but we are determined to fill the room. So watch this space. So no questions, just a statement. Okay. Number two, when it comes to the launch message to market, what is the best channel to use? Marketing is such a noisy space, and our avatar is corporate, therefore not necessarily on one platform. Any advice for far reach with little spend? Well, let me ask you, I mean, it sounds like you're out there actually running the programs now, right? So what's been your experience with those programs, and who are the clients that you're working with that are getting most excited by the results? Hi, guys.
So, hiya. The interesting thing is we haven't even told anybody that Magnetic Minds has launched. They've been coming to me based on somebody somewhere has obviously heard they've gone back into coaching, etc., and it's already coaching clients, which is fantastic, because even to the point where, we've been invoicing from different companies because we haven't even had a registered company up and running, but now it's all sorted and everything. So it actually, the interesting thing is that the flow came and it forced us into action to actually create this company.
That is the right way to do it. That is awesome.
Yeah. So we've not really marketed it. We've not really launched it. We've, Siraj, we literally are probably going to go on to go live this weekend in terms of its website. We're working in InVision with 1 or 2 adjustments at the moment, and then it'll be live, which is really looking cool. I guess the thing is, where do you even begin to, my first guess would be to go through, for example, the business chamber, because they're mostly corporates. I'm already writing articles for their magazine, is to change that into Magnetic Minds from Magnetic Storm, etc. But I don't know. It was more just I guess I really know the answers. It's more just to figure out, is there something that I'm missing in terms of getting into the corporate space and utilizing. Yeah.
Well, what does your launch strategy look like? Like when you go out there and you're actually getting the word out, what are you actually what are you wanting people to do? And exactly how many? When you say, the launch went well, it would be X number of people taking X action. So what are the number of people and what's the action?
So I guess the thing that we've been getting is the coaching side, which is great, except that it's time consuming. So it's not building beyond me, my time, etc. at the moment, and which doesn't allow us to build team either. So as much as it's really good, it's also hindering us in one space. I guess that what I would like is to be able to have defined a program that is, which I have done because I've run them, but I guess I'm a little more loose than I am structured when it comes to this is what the program looks like and here's what page 5 looks like. It's almost like I go with the flow of what is needed in the organization and adapt it accordingly. So no program really looks the same.
That's a problem. You have to launch a program. Most people misunderstand launching a company is not about launching a company. It's about launching a product, right? Because no one buys the company. So
which is why we haven't actually launched the company yet, because we don't know what product to go with. Yeah.
But to just go out there and say, hey, we're now launching, doesn't actually make sense. But to actually launch the product is the most important thing. So then the question is, what's that product going to be? So if you have to choose an actual product, which could be a workshop, it could be a mastermind, it could be, like taking on 5 companies you're going to consult deeply with. It's like if you were to choose one thing where you go, you know what, from all the feedback we're getting, this is definitely going to be the easiest one for us to actually get traction on, what would it be?
I think the coaching has already proven that it's the easiest thing to get traction on. I just don't think it's the cleverest way for us to move forward. But it's definitely the one that's bringing in the income, it's bringing in the reputation, it's bringing in the results, and it's getting us into corporate. So I guess the best way to go ahead would be to try and to build in programs within those corporates into teams rather than individuals, because they've already bought into me, right? So there's already that trust. You're already on their database. You're already into their system. They're already paying you money. So it's to really just...
Okay, I got it. All right, I'll share my thoughts with you, but I see where you're at right now. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jane. All right, fabulous. Let's now come over. next, I am going to come over next in line, which is going to be Richard and Kerry. So Richard and Kerry have got here, highlight is total alignment throughout the entire team on the team charter, which is awesome. It's only taken most of the year to get to this point. With such different departments with legacy issues and being in different life cycles, it has been challenging to align the entire business to the quarterly themes. I'm glad to say that we've achieved it in the last month, and every team member is now reporting on the same quarterly mission, which is awesome. We have also brought in OKRs, which is great. And the team is formally supporting each other horizontally rather than hierarchically, which is fabulous. You're getting it all. This is great. It was a bigger challenge than we first realized, but really happy result. Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process, right? You're not going to get it all right in one, but it's the ongoing, repeating. We're better prepared than ever before for the peak Christmas period in every part of the business, and the teams did all of it on their own and told us in an update. So that's fabulous. So questions. Number one, the reporting mechanism structure you recommend for flight deck meetings. We're doing a good job, but we want to ensure we're nailing it. Okay, that's good. We use flight decks and have turned them into dashboards, which we use in every part of the business, and we're using an OKR framework to ensure that everyone is contributing to the overall promotion plan. Previously on our flight deck meetings, it got so metrics heavy, it became irrelevant to some parts of the team. Can you show examples of how you blend objectives with results metrics and how you use the document as an agenda for the flight deck meeting? When you've shown your flight decks before, there's so much data in there. How do you keep on point and objective? Okay, cool. I can show you that. Also, number two, how do you create a profit center P&L for a department if they aren't able to directly influence sales, i.e. manufacturing, production, and then efficiency ? Sorry, we can't be on the call today. Looking forward to watching the recording. Okay, cool. So let me make a note on that for you guys anyway. So I'm going to do this around, this is all green level 1 stuff. So all about, first of all, how do you actually run the flight deck call, right? And then secondly, is going to be all around how do you turn a cost base into a profit center. Yeah, because there's always a way, right? So it's like, how do you actually do that? We're going to go through that. Okay, cool. So next, let's come down to Joel here. We got Joel's, first of all, here we go. Oops, it's all moving around. All right, cool. Okay, so Joel says, hi, like getting more clarity on new business. Online program for parents or teens support their teen mental health. First junior school camp, the pilot is planned for December 2018, which is fab, so that's coming up. Biggest questions, I'm using Cloud Massage to pay the bills while I develop a more scalable business, perhaps team mental health project. This month, Cloud Massage has had an approach from competitors looking to sell their business. 200,000 revenue office massage. I told them I don't have cash, but can suggest combining the business run by me and allowing them to exit and giving them equity, share profit, share suggestions for such a deal. Okay, cool. Well, okay, Joel, let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the deal. What was their response? Were they up for the idea?
Yes, hi. So it's someone I've had dealings with in the past, and their original business model, they had to pivot from their original business models. The original model was Uberizing the spa, so sending therapists to people's homes.
Yeah.
They found that the cost of acquisition was far too high and there was competitors with far more capital, so they had to pivot, and they pivoted into kind of B2B, so sending masseurs and therapists to people's offices. They've tried to do that for a bit and they've found that it's not scalable and they're working really hard, and she's kind of giving up and going back into her corporate job basically. So she rang me for a catch up and kind of floated the idea that she's got a couple of potential buyers, and I kind of, using my deal makers sniffing, think she doesn't have any potential buyers. And I was very open saying, I don't have cash, but I do have a kind of business operation that could take your clients and could run your business, kind of incorporate your business into mine and allow you to exit but have some return from it. So not cash, but some kind of ongoing revenue, be it shares or non-exec director position, or there could be a million different ways of doing that. But I thought we could be quite clever with that, because I don't know how solid their client base is. I don't know if you take on a client, they have one deal and then they all disappear. I don't know how much it was linked to their brand, and bringing it to my brand, we'd lose them. So I think they haven't got any potential buyers, and they would probably just close the business down anyway. This is assumption, but it's what I'm just smelling from this.
What? I mean, you've said this to her. So what was her response?
She said she was interested. So after telling me originally she had 2 potential buyers, she told me she was interested in this kind of deal, which made me think, well, I don't think you've got any buyers, because you definitely take cash up front if you did. And then I said, she sent me her kind of, she's put together a kind of a sale document which gives their current figures and forecasts and stuff, which she only got through last night. And I said, give me a couple of weeks. She said, no, let's try and get this done sooner. So I think she's looking to get out quick, but doesn't want to just close the doors and walk away.
Okay.
Wants to have some kind of.
So give me a few numbers if you have them, right? So you got one number, which is that they're doing about 200,000 at the moment,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Now what about on your side? How much are you doing at the moment?
Oh, it's very little at the moment. So I've just kind of resurrected this business. So we're probably on about 50 grand a year at the moment.
Okay.
Revenue.
Okay. All right. And do you know how much she's wanting for her business right now?
I literally had this conversation with her last night.
Okay.
I could have her prospectus email to me. Let me just quickly see. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, I do. Let's have a look. So 2017 actual revenue, 220,000. Gross revenue. Net revenue, 109. EBITDA minus 43 this year. That was last year, 2017 actual.
Yeah.
2018 outturn. So I don't quite know what that means, but let's have a look. 242 gross revenue. 122 net revenue.
Yeah.
Minus 7,000 EBITDA.
Okay.
So they're obviously still loss making, aren't they?
Does she have anywhere what she wants to sell it for or not?
I don't think she does. I think she's just punting it to the market and seeing if she's getting any interest. Doesn't seem to say any kind of purchase price.
Okay, I'll walk through with you the way to do a deal on something like that, right? So you get the basics of it. By the way, have you been in contact with Tamsin in Australia?
Was that someone you suggested last time?
Yeah. Have you contacted her?
No, because I sent you a message over Skype asking for details, but I didn't hear back from you. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do the link right on Facebook, right? Because we just had a conversation with her, and she's really powering ahead with like what she's doing, which is exactly what you're doing. I mean, it's basically mental health for teens, where she's got a whole model that's working. It's great, right? And she would totally want to see that grow in the UK as well, right? Okay, so we'll come back to that. Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned before, I've kind of partnered with this consultant pediatrician, Sebastian, to do this in the UK, which is great because he's the star and he's got the profile and the reputation, which is opening a lot of doors for us. And I've got kind of the deal maker commercial background, so he appreciates that. So that's how the partnership's going forward at the moment.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Fab. All right. Okay, thank you, Joel. Let's come over. Next, we are going to come over to Wody. So Wody has got here, highlight has been very busy, numbers are up, revenue is up, that's all good to know. Biggest question is, how do I create a new business in the time being? This is a brand new question. I'm only kidding. This is your ongoing question. What if you advise looking at purchase another business at the moment? Where do I go with the best social media, Facebook marketing agency for current business? All right. Okay. So Wally, well, it's good that your current business is growing, but we've talked about this quite a bit about you putting time into Superman time. So obviously, my first question is, how much of your time have you actually been putting into the time where you're taking it out of the business and actually focusing at the business? Hello.
Once again, I have not. I've just been spending time making money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the answer, right? I mean, like, now you might say, well, like, I should go buy it or I should go check it. But it's all going to be down to just putting the time aside to actually do it. Because if you don't think about it, of course, it's like you're like showing up every month and we're all here going to the gym. And it's like, how do I just get fit? It's like, well, did you go to the gym? It's like, nope. It's like, well, that could be the first step, right? So it's actually putting the time aside. And you can do it because with your business, it can be running itself without you being there at least one day a week, right? That you could actually put the time aside to be building, your next business. Do you know what I mean? Let me ask you a question. What do you think is the reason you're just not doing that?
I'm comfortable. I'm so comfortable what I'm doing, making money, fortunate. So I don't know. I'm just lazy to step out because it's a new adventure, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that's honest. It's good, right? So let me share. I'm going to share on the whole thing you asked me on digital marketing, stuff like that as well, right? So I would do that. And then also the whole thing about, buy versus, build versus, I'll kind of share a bit about it, but that's all theoretical stuff. At the end of the day, it's all just down to actually just putting the time into going out there and saying, right, my job is to actually make sure I'm onto my next big thing within 2 months. And I've got, 4 days this month to do it. And it's every Friday. And I'm going to put my time aside. I'm going to get myself someone accountable that's going to make me accountable. And like, lo and behold, you'll do it, right? But if you don't do those basic steps of actually having someone hold you accountable to your future, where you're actually going to physically show up and do it, it just isn't going to happen, right? It's just, like I've always said, momentum will always beat inertia. And if you've got momentum in one thing, even if it's not the right thing, that will just wash over any inertia you have with something new. And you'll never start the new thing, right? Until you actually physically don't even show up and you're there in the morning going, I have a whole day just to work on my new thing. Well, what am I going to do today? As opposed to, I'm just going to keep busy doing the stuff I'm already doing, right? Anyway, that's the answer, but I'm still going to answer your questions off the back of that, right? So we'll come back to you, Wally. All right.
Thanks.
Fabulous. Let's come over and look forward to seeing you in South Africa, because we're going to be there very soon. All right. So we're going to come to Daniel and Christina now. And they have here 4 highlights. Enjoying the great rhythm we found with energy days. Monday is total still day and works great for us as things come together. Things come up. Knowing we put it in the diary and only discuss on Monday clears the head easily. 100%. That's what it's all about. Number 2, our 3 private coaching clients are doing great. And we are 65% through our Q4 revenue target, which is awesome because we're only 1/3 through Q4. Attended a conference for consciousness and human evolution last week. Mind-blowing what latest science has uncovered, weaving into what we do. Also, good meetings with Simone from ER to run a masterclass on science. Her masterclass is going so well. It's pretty awesome. But right now, Suraj is there doing a masterclass on digital marketing. That was like Waldy's thing, where all these people are actually learning about that this weekend, which is super awesome. Science of manifestation and power coupling. Wow. With the future, super rich, super exciting in 2019. Spent a long time getting clear who we are, what we do, and vision. Deep conversations, overcoming fears we had over being fully true and authentic, which is super awesome, guys. That's really good. I can see you have a new company name, Enterprise Promise, online brand identity. So questions, is our Enterprise Promise big and strong enough? And thoughts on the name. We want a name brand that represents more. You're the first people to hear them both. Our mission is to evolve leaders with a strong spirit and global awareness to build companies that support human evolution to bring in a flourishing world, blending traditional entrepreneur support with energy and healing modalities. And number 2, our WDW in Manchester, December, we're offering a Tyro Authentic Leadership as the higher ticket price at £5,300. Do you think that's suitable and enough time to build the trust for a £7,000 USD product? Okay, great question. And I'm going to, that's a really good one because we just had learnings with Deborah, which I'll share with you on this call because of, and I'm sure she's already mentioned it to you. It didn't vibe, right? So I'm going to kind of share with you what the initial intent of it is and we can kind of run it from there. So that second one is fine. I'm going to come to the first one, right? So tell us, what's your thinking behind Katori? That's my first question.
Hello, hi Roger.
Hi guys.
Yeah, so we wanted a name that kind of captured what we do, and we looked at all sorts of Japanese words and all sorts of different words, and we really loved Katori because we think it sounds nice, but it means spirit and the kind of shamanic principles and the First Nations way of living and the Hopi traditions are quite important for both of us. So to be able to use a word that encapsulates kind of the spirit, the entrepreneur spirit, as well as that water energy and just everything, it kind of ended good. So that
Got it. You guys are quite quiet, by the way. You're quite quiet at the moment. Difficulty.
Okay.
You're a bit louder. Just get a little bit closer to the microphone, then we'll hear you.
Are you getting a headset?
That's already louder. Even just by leaning forward. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So I got what you said on Katori. Okay, yeah. I got. Yeah, because it's like a Native American word, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
It's an old Hopi word.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. And okay, so let's then walk through igniting the spirit of sacred leaders. So what does sacred leadership mean to you?
So we're trying to encapsulate in less than 3 words, which is always difficult. I suppose leadership that takes into account, it's like leadership cross-reference with world game, whereby if we think of from Bucky's perspective of being in the final exam, and how do we make the whole of humanity work in spontaneous cooperation in the least amount of time, that's sacred leadership. It's looking at the fact that we're one beings, one species, one planet, and it's how entrepreneurship and leadership in the future contributes towards that.
Yeah, and in terms of our offering with clients, it's blending in the Ataru, the authentic leadership, all of the wealth dynamics and profiling and all of your work, but then also bringing in things like feng shui and the energy techniques and trauma release, and just allowing people as leaders to be able to come into the true essence of their potential through releasing the past. So it's blending a lot of stuff together. Which is why it's taken us a while to come up with the name and the promise.
Okay, all right. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, I will share with you some thoughts just around the way you've kind of designed that, and we'll kind of come back to it. What would you say are the key products that would be making up your promise?
Probably something, a strong product around leadership, which will most likely be Ataru. Something around one that we're just working on, which is the masterclass, which is the science of manifestation, which is bringing in all the science we've got around those topics right now. And then the last one's going to be probably around sovereignty. So it's releasing traumas from birth and things like that, and stepping into your full, truest understanding of what you're capable of.
I kind of dreamt in the like an alchemy program to really help people go through feng shui grid. So it's like looking at all the different feng shui grid and then all the different elements that make up that grid.
Yeah.
And then having individual programs for each of the 9 elements, but then bringing them all together for a whole holistic program. So we'll be weaving that in specifically with the ICA of leaders and entrepreneurs into that. But to begin with, it's going to be for the next probably 6 to 12 months, we'll be focusing on the Ataru and then working with our own mastermind groups and then also kind of, the Reese and stuff and Daniel, master.
Okay. All right. I got it. Okay. All right. I will then kind of take that as the base, and we will see how it works out. I'm just going to open the stuff that we've got here as well off the back of it. So we have this info. Hang on, where'd it go? Okay, all right. Okay, so let's come. Okay, thank you for that. Let's come over next to. It is Lewis is on the call. Yes, he is. Right. So highlight. We were nominated for 2 Scottish Chamber Business Awards. 1 for youth development, 1 for business innovation. I am still in shock. The last time we won the innovation, as we're up against Lima Electronics, Lothian Broadband Network, and the People's Energy Company. Innovation, wow, that's awesome. We're convinced that we were a category space below. Our premium care team operational system has become so slick that we are currently onboarding over 500 hours, which will take us 2,000 care per week and presents growth of 233% since this time last year. That's pretty impressive. And just to create our own 2-hour weekly radio show. Wow, you got a radio show? Home care. What are you going to talk about on your radio show?
It was kind of like I forged this relationship with like a community-based station about 1.5 years ago. And so we'd been sponsoring them. It was only £80 a month at the time, and we've been sponsoring them. And they have just been awarded with 2 FM licenses. So that takes them from being like a community-based show to broadcasting right across Scotland, through Edinburgh, through Glasgow. And so they said, look, we really appreciate how you've invested in us and stuff like that. So we're paying like £180 a month now. We've agreed to increase it to. And they said, well, would you like to come and do your own show to talk about community-based issues around healthcare and, sort of general interest items, which, of course, we've jumped at the chance at doing. So it's kind of like paid off. They're really grateful for us supporting them, and now they're supporting us. So
that is so cool. That is awesome. Yeah, really good. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this because it's great. So then you've also said launching a Beyond Home Care Christmas charity single that the radio station is free to promote.
So we'll leverage that relationship with the radio station because they're going to record it and promote it for us.
Okay, good. And then our new Glasgow-based digital marketing partner has got us the #1 position on Google for live-in care in less than 2 weeks. Wow, that's awesome. So big questions. We had our first solid Google lead this week, which fingers crossed will convert into new live-in care client next week. What else would we or should we be doing to attract new customers? Also, we made some alterations to the landing page following your previous feedback. What else can we do to refine this move? Tricky to get the balance between sales and commissioning care for a loved one. What do you mean by that? Tricky to get balance between sales?
Because I think one of the things that we've found is that Facebook isn't working for us. The types of people that are coming through Facebook were they were people inquiring about work, and they weren't really good quality people, international people, and so we were spending a lot of time just sifting through that. And so we've kind of excluded that, and we feel that Google is the way to go. Along with maybe some other ways, but I guess that it's kind of like a fine line between doing a sales promotion that doesn't come across as too salesy, considering that we're talking about somebody's loved one, and I guess that's just what's in the back of my mind.
What does the messaging look like right now on your Google AdWords? Like what's the key title or message?
It's because we're coming up as Live-in Care, and we're about to launch a new kind of set of ads which are pushing tools to tap into to care homes, because we know there's about 3,500 searches being done, I think weekly, on care homes across Scotland, and so we want to go. Based on the feedback that you gave, I think that was really good, because in my head, I was making the leap, but I don't think we were making that clearly enough for people that, our service is like a sort of an upscale, if you like, on a care home, or an up option on a care home, because you've got that one-to-one care, as opposed to in a care home where you might have one care worker looking after 8 residents. You don't have that with our service. It is literally one-to-one. And so we're kind of looking to push into that market and try and attract people who are going after sort of care homes or are looking at care homes. That makes sense.
Yeah. Have you actually started any keyword advertising yet, or are you just doing SEO?
No, it's keyword advertising, which is around sort of living care, private care, 24-hour care, respite care, that type of thing.
Okay. All right, so you're doing that, and you're saying you're saying you got your first customer through this already?
Yes. So I think the quality, like the lead volume, is much lower, but the quality is much higher. So it's straight away from this phone call, we knew that it was a good, strong potential client. Went out there and met with the individual looking for care. And and the guy that's commissioning it lives in Australia, so it's just a case of getting that sorted out, but I think that's going to convert for us.
Final thing is, as far as it goes with how you're at the moment attracting most business coming your way, is it generally just doing it via the government contracts and things you have, or are you actually already attracting people who phone you up or are responding to ads or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had quite a few inquiries first of all, and we brought on some private clients, and you'll see from the challenges there, we'd lost, like our target was only 10, but we'd lost 3 clients from that, just because one person had passed away and the family wanted to take the other one into their home, and then another guy who's got dementia, and so the family don't want him to go into a care home, but he's really resisting having someone in the home with him. So we've had to kind of transfer that into our local authority care. But I think that what we were looking at is saying, right, the local authority contract is so much hassle for such little reward. We want to just focus on the private. But I think that really what the problem was is that we didn't have an automated system that didn't run that local authority contract. So now we have. And just to put that into context, just over a year ago, we were only running on 500 hours a week. So the other week, the team just went out there, did it, and they're not even breaking a sweat now. They're saying, right, 500 hours, we're absorbing that. So the idea is that we push that to 4,000 over the next year, because they can just keep absorbing that. The machine's working without us needing to run it now. So it just frees me up to focus on the private care, because that is where the majority of our growth is going to come from.
Yep. Okay, awesome. I will come back to you on both of those things. That's awesome, but really great progress you're making. Brilliant.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for this. Okay, fabulous. All right, let's continue on here. We are next going to come to Yayoi, who has a highlight. Finally back to the call. Yay. I just had my call with Yayoi this week. So this is twice in 1 week. It's our 3rd year in Business Circle here. Got an official go from Success Resources to Anthony Robbins' English course. Tamami's team came up with a very process-oriented business model for Wealth Dynamics English program. Haruka, my COO supporter, will be going to Masters at the end of this month. Yeah, that's next week. We have a lot of students coming. 3 books to be published. 1 already finished. 2nd already proofreading phase. 3rd still writing, but very fulfilling process with my team and editor. A press release out on a business partnership with Gaxseed, headed by Mr. Nozawa, for the gateway services for inbound businesses. We talked about this as well, which is awesome. And other connections you got here. So questions. Number 1, how do I change myself to blue level? Yesterday you kindly pointed out I'm shiny yellow when I thought I was on my way to blue. So what changes do I need to make? Well, the answer to that is get to green first, right? Which is actually having all of your team members then basically driving your plans for you, which is kind of what you're starting to do, but it's still on your brand because it's not on your products, right? And green's when it's all about the products making their own sales without you being there. So when I said focusing at the customer as opposed to yourself personally, that's like the critical thing where everything ties back to your customer, right? Number 2, how do I find the optimal speed for the business expansion? My supporter says I shouldn't be focusing on the gateway when BI is still solidifying our products for scaling to 1,000 learning communities. Number 3, how do I train orange mentality people into yellow ones in the most efficient way? What is the process? Well, let me ask you, Yayoi, the person, your supporter, what is your supporter the one that's working in the in Bridge International or the one working in Gateway?
Haruka is working for BI, and Chika is the one who is working with Mr. Nozawa, handling the Gateway opportunities.
Which one's the supporter?
Haruka, so BI.
BI. So your BI lead is saying, don't go do something new. We need you in BI, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. What level do you think she is? Is she giving you the plans as to how she's going to get to 1,000, or is she waiting for you to come up with the plan?
I think she already pretty much came up with the plan, but I'm the one still having the content. So that's the reason why she needs me to dump out my content. And we are sort of jointly tweaking our products. So I think, we are on the right way in the sense that she's working on the products rather than, of course, I'm a star. So, the brand will be, of course, under my brand. So that's actually is another question that I wanted to ask you, because being a star, it's like, look at Oprah Winfrey, like she's still, she's, because of her, she's got the brand. So,
and Haruka's on this call, right? So Haruka has also put a plan together already, or not?
Haruka, can you talk?
Well, you can share for Haruka, because like she's can't speak.
Yeah, she can't speak right now. I think she's on the train.
All right, she's on the train.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So but just to answer the question, if you know that you've already got a plan that's already been put together for you, have you quantified how much of your time is required to execute that plan for Bridges International? So for example, when Jess is in charge of the event side and she's got revenues to hit and she's got events that she's organizing, he's able to say exactly how much of my time she requires for those events, right? Okay, so she's never saying to me, oh, Roger, you shouldn't go do other things because you should be doing the events. She doesn't say that. She just says, hey, Roger, I need these days from you for the events for me to hit my numbers. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I can do that. Or if I couldn't do it, I'd actually tell her, right, I can't do it, right? But that's the point. It's like, it's not about like some gray thing which you're just kind of like needing all your time to be focused at. It's about quantifying how much of your time is required for BI in order for BI to hit its numbers based on your leader there telling you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem I think right now is the fact that I don't know how much I want, my content to be, how can I say, dumping out like what I have inside my brain. Like it's still like huge amount. Like you said, it's a lot of work for my 7th book, and so I still working on how to put all the content together, and then that's the unknown factor that she's struggling with.
So I'm gonna reverse the whole thing around, right? When I say customer focused, can you imagine if Jane, when she's talking about Magnetic Storm, says, okay, what's the plan for me to get all the stuff in my head into all the programs out there, right? Then I'll go give up. Don't even start, right? Because that's not what a business is for. A business is not a rubbish bin for your mind, right? That's not what a business is for, right? A business is a vehicle to serve your customer. It's a totally different thing. And serving your customer requires you to not actually dump everything from your mind, because that doesn't serve the customer, right? So the question, that I'm going to answer for Jane is not, how do I dump everything from my brain out into millions of books? It's going to be, how do we serve your customer with the first step in the easiest way that puts money in your pocket and gets that customer to be happy, right? And in your case, it's exactly the same thing. It's like what is the one thing that you're delivering at Bridges International that actually gets 1,000 people happy with a minimum amount of your time so you can go do other things, right? Not how do you write 1 million books, right? So it's really, really important that as long as you're thinking it's all about me and what I got to get out there to the world, you're thinking yellow level. Right? But the moment you say, it's not about me, it's not about what my content, it's about my customer and what they want, and what's the way for me to do that in the most effective way. And it might not even be your content, it might be someone else's. It might be, hey, we should give them all of Tony Robbins' course, right? So that they're learning English using Tony Robbins. I'll get someone else to do the translation, they'll put the stuff together, doesn't even include me, and then the customers will be happy, right? So it is going to be much more about you turning your promotion plans into not how do you get your content out there, but how do you serve your customers? And you get really focused with her to say, for us to actually deliver to those 1,000 customers in the most effective way, what's the minimum amount of my time you need? That's green level, right? That means now she's building that without needing you. And my team does that. I say, if you can figure out a way to get to your targets with minimum use of my time, you're winning. Right? And anything I can do to help mentor you to do that, I'll help you to do that. And the whole team knows it, right? That the less they need to use my time, the more we're winning, as opposed to the more of my time they take, that somehow that makes us win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, I will go into more on the detail of that, but I think just what I just shared that others on the call also could find that helpful as you're making the transition also green and then up to blue. Okay, awesome. So let's come over. Lee, who normally is on this call, he jumped onto the to the other call, so he wasn't on this one here. So we have Peva here, who has got here highlight. We are finishing 5 levels for our membership. We suppose it is starting the 1st of November. Okay. We have prepared the use of using of passwords only for one participant. Till this time, our participants could share their passwords with their colleagues. We're prepared at using of passwords only for, okay, said that. We've finished 17 days of seminars in our company and online from this Monday. The revenue from this is about 1 million Czech crowns, but we have to use this for supporting whole web, which is still minus. And after adding revenues from this and different parts is about 0. We have to prepare a new plan and new milestones. Okay, so you want to be moving from 1,000 participants or revenue 12 million. So number 1 question. In September, 10 people who had better price, only 7,000 crowns old participants left. My question is important. What was the reason for the leaving? Questionnaire, or should we call them? Number 2, we're planning to create an online program. I'm a little afraid about the reaction of our participants who paid membership. Till this time, I gave everything with what I created to the gold level. Only multi-day seminars, 17 days, which we are selling separately, and content isn't at the website. My plan is that about 50% of content of online will be gold too. 50% will be only for participants who will be buying online program. Is this okay? What's your recommendation? And number 3, we've prepared advertising price lists for our websites, products, books, newsletters, etc. We'd like to introduce it to our partner companies and also offer this on our website. What do you think about this? And should we set this price higher and offer to our partners companies maybe half of this written price? For other companies, the price would be much higher. Okay, so let me focus at the second one. On the online program, you're a bit worried for the people that are paying the membership. So just so I'm clear, what's the worry? Is it because you're worried that they're going to be feeling they're not getting enough content, or something else?
I'm really worried about the till now we send there all the things what we had.
All we have, all we make, we put it there and they can download it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right now they will see like there is something more and they're not having it.
Yeah.
So they're like not satisfied that they have everything what we have.
Yeah, because members.
Sorry, I missed that. You're saying this is going to be the first time you're creating something they just don't get access for free. Is that right?
No. It's not for first time, but this we have only 3 things what they can't where they don't have access, and in the year we will have 10 things, and in 5 years we have 100 projects
normally
with no access. But now membership from this web is everything that it make most of money what we got.
As you create these new things, are you wanting the people who are your members to buy those things? Yeah. Okay. Have you gone and tested with any of them yet to say the membership covers all these things and now we're going to create these new things? Have you done that yet and got their feedback?
Okay, we've got 2 types of feedback. Some we have type that they say, wow, it's too cheap. Why? And second is, oh, it's too much expensive. I don't have money for it.
Okay.
We've got 1 customer, and in 3 minutes, second customer, and they are on different sides.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. Okay. I will share with you my. Let me just ask one other thing, just off the back of this. If you, with the things you're going to launch, let's imagine, like, give me the idea of like gold membership. How much is it costing them right now for the gold?
Now,
like 20. Not even 20,000 Czech crowns.
20,000 Czech crowns right now.
Okay, and then with, let's say, for example, the like the digital course, right? Like, how much is that? How much are you going to charge for that?
From this 5 to 8,000, for example. But,
okay.
But people who have paid membership, they have the 30% discounts.
Okay, all right. And you're saying that with this new course you're starting, some of your members, have you already told your members there's going to be this course and you can get it for 30% discount? Yeah, okay. And you're saying those people, some of them are saying that's really cheap and others are saying that's too expensive, yeah? Okay, got it. Okay, great. Fabulous, all right, I got it, okay. I will answer your question as to how to do these transitions, right? When you've actually got like one thing moving from one to the other, right? And also what to do if your old customers leaving. Okay, let's also just go through to do with members. All right. Okay. Let's come over. Oh, and also the partners as well. All right, let me do that. What I'm going to do now is come down to Alex, who has got here, highlight has started our team charter, which is awesome for the business, but actually getting the employees to build this, not just myself, which is perfect. This was a key OKR for this quarter in order to have the business ready for 2019. In addition, we finally moved into legals with our first build project, which is a large milestone, and we have all our professional team appointed and now released the first round of funding for the project to kick off the pre-exchange surveys and professional works. Shit just got real, and Zusa is alive. Okay, that's so awesome. That's really good. Okay, so questions. Number one, how do you deal with your business when you suffer large personal setbacks, which can stop you and your normal flow, especially when you still have a small team, which cannot deal with your departure? Number two, how to transition from a mentor role to a JV partner. And number three, how are you looking into planning for 2019, both for targets and development of your team and business? What are the key things we should jump on now? Great question. Okay, well, I'm going to walk backwards on your questions there, Alex. So first of all, on the transition from a mentor role to a JV partner, is this the Ireland thing, or is this a different partner you're talking about here?
No, this is, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, that's great.
No, so this is, I've got a mentor who's on the property side of things I've been working with over the last year.
Okay.
But obviously he's seen what I'm doing now, and he was like, well, actually, I think I'd like to do some JVs with you myself.
Nice.
So then that's moving out, which is good for me. But it's obviously moving out of a mentor role into a JV partner. And it's like, obviously I'm still paying a fee for his service, and I'm trying to move away from that because obviously that saves me cash flow. And it's like, he's a little bit reluctant to let go. It's like, how do we bridge that with being adults? But I've never, he's never done this before, and neither have I. And it's kind of like, well, how do I do that smartly?
Does he still add value to you as a mentor? I mean, would you continue from his if you weren't partnering him?
Yeah, I mean, so he adds a lot of value still, and so having JVs is great because I can access that knowledge as well. But at the same time, it's like, well, if we're doing something together on a big scale, I don't feel like I should. This is me thinking, maybe it's a wrong thinking, that I should have to also pay for him as a mentor on top of that.
Yeah, okay, got it.
It's kind of, I'm not sure how to deal with that situation.
Got it. Okay. And then on the first one, are you in the middle of something where you're having to take time out from the business and so on, and that's why you're having this challenge?
Yeah, some big personal problems that I need to deal with. But obviously, when your mental space isn't 100% focused, that obviously derails you from your business day to day. And I found it's really tough the last couple of weeks, and it's going to be tough over the next couple of weeks and months. It's just like how to keep focus, let myself do the healing that I need to do and all that kind of thing. Not sure how to do it because this is the first big kind of setback that's come personally while I've had the business. So
okay,
I know there'll be more, but it's like, how have you dealt with that in the past?
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Awesome. All right. Fabulous. Okay. Thank you for all of that, Alex. And these are good questions. I'm going to jump on all of them. Okay. Great. So let's come over to Friday and Fran. Got here. Highlight moving to Emerald Circle 3, which is here. Hopefully a better fit. Employing 2 new young men with winning attitudes, training apprentice technician and training as a salesman, which is awesome. Big questions. Number one, what is the most important leadership lesson you've learned and how has it proven invaluable? Wow. What a question. Number two, what new skills do we need to move ahead? Number three, what is a good tool for tracking team commitments and project management? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is what we're going to, this is going to be very green level core today because of the way we're setting up all of next year and the kind of plan behind it as well. But let's start because Fran and Friday are new to this call. I would love it, first of all. It looks like we got Friday there. If you would share with everyone just what your current business is so everyone gets an idea and what your big goal is for 2019, which would be great to hear as well. Hi, Friday.
Hey, guys. Fran's just at home sick with a little fella tonight. So basically about the shop, we're a power sports centre. So we do the jet skis like Sea-Doo, the Can-Am, off-road and UTV buggies. So yeah, basically just an adrenaline junkie shop really for toys for the big boys. And goal going forward is we are trying to get a new premises so we own our own shop and develop it the way we want it to be. And the further goal is we want to do our tourism business as well. So we've got 2 big plans in the pipeline.
Awesome. Fabulous. Okay, great. And you know how we were talking before about really starting to build community? You were in the middle of the like the races that you were doing. Has there been any evolution on that side at the moment?
We are still doing. We're just kicking off our season now for the summer series for like jet skis. It's kick-off time. It's not very, how we say it, it's taken off very slowly, so it's a bit disappointing. So we're a bit worried. We need the sun. The motorsport side, the dirt track racing we were doing on the off-road, we've done good there. We've won the series, and it's been good promoting for the business. And we're just about tomorrow night, we kick off our big sponsorship, which is Motorplex, which is our big speedway drags burnout competition. There's one big plex. We are promoting really, really heavily there for the third season now, third year in a row. So I hope it all works out and gives some kickback.
Awesome, very cool. Okay, fab. All right, we will answer all your questions here. Great to have you on this call as well. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'm actually going to start with a bit of an intro because now that we have got kind of full house on the Emerald Tree core, it's good to actually cover everyone with your websites, where everyone's at and so on at the moment. So let me share my screen. I'm going to start with what our main theme is on this call. It's mega green level 1, right? So what Friday was just asking is the same thing Alex is just asking, same thing that Yayo is actually asking, same thing that Daniel and Christina are actually on at the moment, same thing Richard and Kerry who aren't on the call, but actually we're sharing asking as well, which is really all about just get like establish your enterprise. This one here, like just really like solidly, how do I get this business to be running without me? Like how do I get this business to actually have a team that's driving it forward without needing my direction on what's happening and what we need to do, right? So that's going to be like the core of the core. And then we have a number of things. We have one a little higher, which is why I'm going to start from the top. So it's kind of a simple, easy one, which is Joel. And the blue level 1, which is how do you do a deal on something where you're actually going to buy someone else's company? Like how do you do that? I'll give an example of something that we're doing right now as an example of that to begin it. So I'll actually put that up here. This will be our B1. Which is going to be all about, establish your authority. Which authority is like author. Authority is like, anchor your authority. Like what's the story, right? What's the story that allows you to know other people's story, right? And I'll kind of share a little bit about the difference of what happens at blue level, at green level, and then when we get to yellow level. Monetize your moment. There's a few. Like this is Paver's question. It's Lewis's question. Like this Jane's question. It's like very tactical. Right? What's the deal here in terms of really making sure you got the promotion plan in place? And then Wody, you heard where he's at, like this is very much identify identity. Yes, he needs to have a plan, but you got to step one back to say, who am I? Why am I comfortable? Why am I not more uncomfortable, right? Like what is it that's making that happen? And quite a few people, Alex has asked some questions, like Friday's asked some questions, which are of a personal nature. How do you take your personal life and the stuff that shows up in your personal life? How do you link that all into the business, especially if you think that the business is a mirror of yourself, right? Then how do you do that as well? Let me start with the blue level. I'm going to start with this one. First of all, before I come to Joel's, what I want to do is I want to walk through an example of a deal we're doing at the moment, right? So this deal is happening, like many of you know, like let me open this up. We just had, I said I was going to go through everyone's side, so let me do that first. Okay, so I've been so busy listening to what everyone's been saying, I haven't actually posted them all in here. So here's Magnetic Storm, right? When we're now going to go into Magnetic Mind. So that was what Jane was talking about. So you see I'm posting them down below the Emerald Circle ones here. And here's the recordings of the last 2 Emerald Circles, which are, for a lot of people, is also green level stuff around how to really build team, right? Here is Waldy's company, right? ABDMM, which is all around the motor oils. So I'm going to post that in here as well. Here is Richard and Kerry's company, T-Shirtify, right? So all on the online stores for T-shirts. This here is Get Real, which I'm going to come back to because this is Tamsin's company. So when you heard Joel talking about what he's going to be doing now, Tamsin's doing this like at scale in Australia. She's got the NFL, she's got the NRL, all supporting and sponsoring. She's got the government sponsoring programs, which is all around mental health for kids. And it's all driven through the schools there. And it's just taken off like crazy. It's really, really good. So she's on Crystal Circle, and you can definitely connect with her. In fact, the way to connect with her is right like this. Am I saying Tamsin's? Oh, wrong way. Tamsin. I'm trying to go. Tamsin. Who's Tamsin, right? Tamsin's charity. So she's got a company. Then she's also got a charity. Her charity is called Alive, which is preventing teen suicide. So she does this also through all the sponsors that actually are sponsoring her off the back of this as well, which again are a lot of the big sports teams that are doing it. She's like, you can see them all here. They all are sponsoring it, which is pretty awesome. So she's got all this high level stuff that's coming through this. So I'll give you that link, and then you can connect directly with Tamsin here. Then we've also got a couple of things I'm going to come back to on naming, because that was one of the things that you heard from Daniel and Christina. Here's Beyond Home Care with the updated landing page, so I'm going to come back to that as well. Here's Yayoi's Bridge International. So we heard from Yayoi and what she's going to be looking to do, so I'm going to post that in there as well. And then here is Eva's company, so I'm going to post that in here too, with the membership that they're growing. Here's Zusa, so I will also post that in here. And then here is Friday's Jeskies, so I will post that in here as well. So gives you a bit of a reference of everyone and all their businesses and where they're going. Let me now share with you the example of the project that we're doing a deal on right now, and the way I designed the deal, like how we're getting to it at the moment. So, so you see this happen, right? Because we're going through it now. Whether it actually followed through or not, you'll know, because I'll be sharing it with you. But if I was to go to we have like our Impact Investors meeting, which we just had last week, along with all our board meetings, and we always set up these slide decks as we're going through it. And so on the slide decks, we're actually kind of sharing all the info, all the materials off the back of it as well. And what happened on our Entrepreneur Resort side is we basically we're going through what our performance is on everything, that we're on track at the moment. We basically have got like a 5-year plan. We said, hey, by the end of 2018, we want a $9 million revenue, $1.15 share price. We're going to hit around about $9 million revenue, but because we're doing more like $2 million profit as opposed to like $500,000 profit, we're now having a share price of about $1.60. So we're about the same as this time next year. So by giving people where we are compared to where we thought we were going to be, it makes people then either like have questions because why are we not hitting numbers, or in our case, because we are hitting numbers, then getting excited about like, you know, the future, and then wanting to keep their shares and then wanting to invest more in as well. And so we spent more time talking about next year and what we wanted the next year to look like. We have this, which is basically a 1-page goal for the year, like what we want to do by the end of the year, right? So we designed that out so people could see what that was as well. And then we said, here's how we're going to hit next year's numbers, right? And one way we did it was we said we're going to do it through the Tao design and the growth of Tao, right? Because we've got this whole plan of how we're going to grow Tao. And then the second thing is through the purchase of our next beach club and resort, where I was out looking at where we're going to get the numbers. And we had this option, which is in Thailand, which is Beach Republic. So I went out to Koh Samui and said, right, I'm going to find the right deal. And you can see here, we kind of put the details down here. Beach Republic is a 42-key, 61-bedroom resort. Got a British owner that's looking to sell. Operation has been running for 10 years, currently operating in a revenue of about 3-4 million US. Knight Frank has done a valuation at 8 million US. The owner has an expansion plan for 96 keys. Knight Frank has put a value on the expanded operation at 15.7 million. And we basically reckon we'll get it to 8 million US, 2.3 million US in EBITDA. And the property is on like this amount of space. Asking price is 10 million. And they're open for a deal, right? So in a situation like this, we looked at it and said, well, he wants more money. And this is what it looks like, just to give you an idea. Some of you might have been to Bali, you might have been to Coup d'etat or Potato Head. These guys all got modeled off Beach Republic. So Beach Republic is pretty much like the #1 beach club in Asia, or they say they're in Asia, but they're definitely #1 in Thailand. They're based in Koh Samui. The whole design of it is all like they have their own resident DJ. You can see the DJ booth here. Everyone kind of comes and parties. It's right on the beach. And then it has all of these different like rooms and villas that they have everywhere as well. So if we actually go to, let's say, the gallery, you'll see they have a Health Republic, which is like a spa space and stuff like this. And the guy who started it up, he basically came over about 5-6 years ago to Thailand, taking the Mediterranean beach club concept and said, we want to set these up in Asia. And since then, a number more have started up, but none of them are really quite as big as this one, because this one's kind of like a pretty big size. And what we did when we got involved, and the way we got to this one, because it's not on the market at the moment, the way we got to it was I went and when I got to Koh Samui, I had a couple I was going to go look at, and I met up with the top commercial agents, and one of them was in, and I said the same thing to all of them. What have you got on your books that you're not showing anyone else? Because they're always going to have stuff on their books that the owners don't want everyone to know that they're actually selling. And so I ended up looking at a number of different ones, and this was one of them, which was actually up there for sale. And you can see like what it's designed like, what it looks like. And off the back of it, what came out of this was, first of all, I said, well, give me all the details. And he said, the owner wants $10 million. They've got this whole plan of how they're going to grow it. And I said, okay, well, show me what is the details on this thing. And they came up with this, where if I go through Beach Republic, which looks like this, they basically had all this info already, because they had already put together a plan for the growth of it. And so on this, they actually had their own pitch deck. So this is a good thing about always having a pitch deck on how they'd actually built it, when it got started, what it looked like, and then most importantly, like the size of the growth of what they were designing. Like they basically, it's a pretty massive development. And so they basically are building all this new stuff, 96 keys. And so what I did, and they got all the numbers together of what it was going to look like, how much money it was going to make. So I did the numbers on it, and I said, if we can get this thing doing more like 4 million US, 800,000 profit to 20% profit, and then we're buying it at 8 million, then that makes sense, because that's like a 10 times multiple. And right now we're basically knowing that something like that we could add onto the value of Entrepreneur Resource as a listed company, and it will take us from 20 million valuation today to more like, by the time we're hitting that kind of a number, more like 40 million valuation, right? It will put about 20 million valuation on us once we actually get it up to full operations. And so I said, so it's worth us actually taking it on, right? And it's worth us paying $8 million to do that. But at the same time, they don't yet have all the planning permission for this. They don't have yet all the details. So what I did was I actually then got onto a number of calls with the right-hand man of the owner, which happened over the last month. And I said, tell me more about the owner. Why do they want to sell? He's like, I want to sell because his brother's got money in it. He wants to get his money out of it. Does he want to stay in it? Yeah, he's got this whole kind of like, vision of what he wanted to do, where he actually has this whole kind of like, brand vision. So he actually put together this brand vision here, which actually has on it like what they actually wanted Beach Republic to be, how they wanted it to be, also Snow Republic, City State, which is pretty much what we're doing for Entrepreneur Resort. So I could see all of that. And he's kind of like sentimental to the place, so he doesn't really want to sell it, but he's not a good manager. So he hasn't turned the thing into what it should be doing. And so off the back of all that, understanding the motivation of all of it, I said, okay, well, here's the offer. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get vendor financing, which means that if he's willing to like give us time to get it to where we want it to get to, which is basically 20% net profit, and give us 3 years to do that, and vendor finance it for 3 years. Like, so basically out of the 8 million, and I said, I want to buy for 8 million, not at 10 million, but at 8 million, like he vendor finances 4 million of it. And of the other 4 million, we'll give him 2 million in cash, and we'll give him 2 million in shares. And those shares are at the moment, like based on our numbers, including Take on Beach Republic, are basically scheduled to grow. And I sent them the pitch deck and grow from like, what it is right now, which is $1.60 to over $4 within the next 3 years, which means he's fundamentally going to double to triple his money on that 2 million. So that 2 million could be worth 6 million if we do all the things right. And then he's actually part of ownership in something he always wanted to grow anyway. And so by going with that model, they went back to him. He's come back. This happened like this morning, so it's happened today. He came back and he's like, I'm on for it. Let's meet. And straight after Masters, I fly back out to Koh Samui, where we're spending 3 days together, walking through the entire resort, getting all the deal done. And I'm pretty confident we're going to get the deal done. Why? Because I only made the deal that way, in a way that actually worked for both of us, knowing that he's already put in more than 10 million of his own money, that he wants to get his money out of it. And it's very unlikely to find anyone else who's going to come in and do a deal the way we're doing the deal, because we're giving him shares that are actually going to grow in value as well. Plus, he gets enough money to give back to his brother, which means he wins. He gets involved in the thing he wants to get involved in, which means he wins. And it all comes by just really getting an understanding of where that person's at. So it's a creative deal, and it's a really good deal that gives us control of something for $2 million, basically. But it's one that actually allows us to then actually add up to $20 million valuation on our company, right? So you're magicking up $12 million of extra money off the back of a deal which is only costing $2. So that's high leverage, right? But the key thing to this is when we're doing the deals like that, we're working them out. And I walked through this with the board. I walked through this with our own team, and said, okay, well, like, what are your concerns? What do you think could go wrong with this deal? So we're kind of really taking it like step by step as we go through it. The biggest key to this is actually all about their motivation. So what Joel should do is go back to her, the woman who runs this company, and say, first of all, how much are you earning right now out of it? Like, because she's got a certain amount she's earning with the headache of the fact it's losing money, right? Now, the fact that it's actually kind of almost at break even, she's probably using it to some extent for her own personal expenses as well. So it actually could be that it could be making money. But by getting the numbers and say, well, how much are you actually earning yourself? You're getting an idea of what she's actually taking out of the business today. And then from there, well, if you actually could sell it, right, what would be a number that you could walk away from this from that would actually make you feel confident, right, that you've actually made the right deal, right? So she might say, well, if I could sell it for like 30 grand or 40 grand or whatever that happens to be, and of course she knows, because it's not making any profit, it's difficult for her to value anything at this point, right? But she's earning money at the moment. And now if you do that and you say, right, if I was to run this company knowing my numbers, I could take £200,000 worth, put it in with my £50,000, 250,000. I can look at my costs, right? You can ask her for her P&L and stuff to say, I'm going to get a win-win for you, where I can turn this around and make it successful, which means all of your employees keep their jobs and we build this business, and that you end up with a deal where you can get the money out of it, but we've got to do it where we both win, right? So by you knowing how much she actually earns at the moment, and by you knowing what she'd like to get out of it, and by you working out what you could do with that 200,000 yourself, you're going to be in a position to go back to her and say, well, here's what I figured out. I figured out that if you actually, if you allow me to buy the company where I can be paying you out over the next 3 years, I'll make sure you get at least the same pay you're getting right now while I take on the business. Over those 3 years, while you're getting that pay and I turn it around, I'll be able to give you this extra money based on us actually hitting these certain numbers, which then gets closer to the number you'd like to get. And you always find a way that matches their number and matches your number. Exactly the same as like what we're doing with Beach Republic, right? So that's the way to do it, right? Have that conversation with her where you're finding out, like, how much is she earning, how much does she want, and then for her to see transparently how you're going to do it. And I did exactly that same thing with the guys on Beach Republic. I said, well, here's what we think we can make happen. And they looked and they go, well, that's actually quite logical, right? And we can see that you wouldn't just come in and pay 10 million for something that isn't going to make you a lot of money. We can see why you need to get it to that point. We can see we can give you the space to get to that point, and we still all win at the end of it. And then everyone comes in with a win-win as a result of the fact that you've given yourself time to solve all the problems, as opposed to just do a once-off transaction where suddenly you buy it and then it's done, right? Okay, so let's go from there to then the green level, right? So on the green level side, these questions, which is how do we really make sure that we're running the right rhythm in the business? Let me share with you what we've done for our team charter at the moment. There's two things we're doing. The first one is we ran our team charter for Q4. So we did it for all our companies. So for example, this is the team charter for, let me open the EI one. Here's the EI one. Plus, we're also doing this, which I would recommend everyone does if you don't have this planned in already. We have this thing that's happening next weekend. So after Masters finishes, we're doing a mini Masters. We call it the Ninja Global Team Meet, where we are taking all of the leaders of Genius U, all the leaders of Entrepreneur Resorts, all the leaders of Entrepreneurs Institute, and we're all meeting up for 3 days, 3 nights in Lambongan. So we're all going to a private villa. We've also got Angie from Genius School, and Joe's going to be listening in on Health Dynamics. So we're going to be in Nusa Lambongan, and we basically have a plan where we have got all of our 2019 plans. So we're going there with our 2019 team charters already done, right? And so each one of these already are our team charters. We all get to review them, and then we kind of sync in and then improve all of them together, where we all give each other feedback, because we're all basically then using all of the same scheduling to design out the entire year, right? And we've got our key outcomes that everyone's then focused. We know what we're going to do in 2019. Job's done. No more question mark. What are we going to do? It's just done, right? Our product plans, everything. And we're actually very excited, having a lot of conversation at the moment about what our products will look like differently next year, what the designs of them will be, all that kind of stuff as well, right? So I highly recommend you all do something like that allows you to do that. On the actual team charter, this here is how we mapped it out. So this template is available to all of you in the links. If you go back to the chat, you'll see down here under the document links, you just go in there, you've got the team charter links, the template for it. And here you'll see the way that we design it. So this is coming right directly to Alex's question, like how are we going about planning 2019? We're mapping it out exactly the way we've mapped out with the same template for 2019. And every one of the cases, the most important slides, because we have our enterprise promise mission, which haven't really changed at all. We're upgrading our entire product range to say what's going to be different on our product range compared to this last year. So this is one of the most important designs. We're upgrading what our team actually looks like in terms of like with the team, who's going to be doing what by the end of next year. And we also then have got also like what our like one slide vision is for all parts of the business, right? That we will have that as well. And by us doing this, we've been doing this all the way through this year, we're constantly tracking. So the mentoring business does about what like it's meant to be doing this year, about $6 million with like $1.8 million profit, right? And so we can see, quarter by quarter, we've been beating pretty substantially the numbers each quarter compared to what we were meant to be doing. So we already hit our entire year's forecast after 3 quarters. And like, so the final quarter is kind of like gravy. But this is because the team has all been focused at this since the beginning of the year. And these are numbers we put together last September, October, right? So they all have profit share off the back of it. They all have incentives off the back of it. So I don't have to worry about hitting any of this stuff. They're the ones doing it. They're the ones telling me what they're going to do. And then I'll mentor them on the best pathway forward, right, as they're doing that as well. And then everything comes down to the promotion plans, which is why we're going to come down in a moment, why these promotion plans are important, because everyone's then updating on their promotion plans. And every quarter, when we come back and check out the quarterly promotion plan, everyone's then actually measuring how they did. So, for example, when we did our team meeting about 2 weeks ago, we didn't just say for every person who's a project leader to run through their key area. We also got them to review the last quarter. And so if I go back to the last quarter, which is down the bottom here, this is the EI one for Q3. Let's take someone like, let's take Jess, right? So Jess was doing the events. You'll see that she starts, so like we took 2 hours just to review. So we took half an hour just going through our culture, and everyone sharing stories about how in the last quarter they saw the culture show up in the company. So we're really talking about how we were being as a company. Then each of the different project leaders had 20 minutes to go through the last quarter, what went well, what didn't go well, what they learned, and then what they're going to do this coming quarter. So every team could hear what every project leader was doing. So they would start with these ones, which were the ones here. Yeah, let me give an example. I'll take one of the ones that Jess is on. So like these are all the different quarterly plans, right? So she was able to go through and share on her plan. I think this was one of them. Entrepreneur Summits, right? So she went through this one, and basically because we have financial objectives, you can see here financial objectives. She said, right, here's how we hit the numbers compared to what we said we're going to hit. Here is here's my rating. I gave myself 8 out of 10. This is what she said on my profit, 8 out of 10 on my commissions. On my development objectives, I gave myself 6 out of 10 on creating a sustainable profit model. And she walked through why she gave herself these scores. So this isn't me or anyone else telling Jess whether she did a good job or not. It's her telling us whether she thinks she and the team did a good job. So this is really green level. It's like them giving you the information and then you basically being able to support them to do a better job in each of these areas, right? And then she went on to basically now, here's the plan for the next quarter. Really simple, 20 minutes, each person goes through theirs. And then at the end, everyone then went through their personal compass. If you don't have personal compasses for your team members, there's no way for you to know exactly what they should be doing. So like coming back to Yayou's question, how do I make sure I'm really doing green properly, is to get your team members to put their personal compass together. So we went through this on a couple of calls ago on OKRs, where basically, we actually now have got everyone designed on their team compass under OKRs. So remember, again, anyone new to this, a team compass is personal compass is basically someone's job description where they've written it for themselves. And they look like engaging, they look colorful. I've got 300 of these that I can go through across all of our staff. We've got over 300 staff now. So I can go through every one of them and get to know for each person exactly what they see their job description being this next quarter. So it changes every quarter based on what's going on. These are my ones. What their big priorities are this quarter compared to last quarter. And you can see I've scored myself, as everyone does, on how we did our priorities for the last quarter. 9 out of 10 keeping everyone on track, 5 out of 10 on the online sales target, 6 out of 10 building the partnership team. And I can share, well, here's what I'm doing differently. Here's my big focuses for this next quarter, right? And then I take each of these, which are my objectives, and then I break them into key results. So my first objective here, right? For me to actually achieve my objective of the EI team being on track, it means hitting a 1.5 million revenue, $500,000 profit in quarter 3. It means working with the accounts team to ensure collections match revenues. It means giving time to support all the team members to ensure we're reaching our goals. Everyone can see what I am seeing success looking like. And it makes me accountable for what I need to do to help them, as opposed to that it all being a mystery as to what I'm doing. And I'm only doing what I'm saying I'm accountable to, and it needs to fit into what they're doing as well. So each person has done this in this way, right? So Sandra's got her ones here. You got here Penny's got her ones here. And everyone gets to kind of own their space as they're doing it. And for each person, they'll also break it down in their way as well. So again, coming back to Jess, an example, you saw her promotion plan. From here, it then allows her to then break this down. And then again, based on her priorities, what are her milestones, right? Which are her OKRs. And then again, everyone also posts down, what are her learnings? What are her goals? What are your wins? What are your challenges? So you can then see what everyone's challenges are that they're based on. And then we turn this into what we call our 3 I's, which are our issues, our impediments, and our improvements. And that's a large part of our weekly course that we actually design off the back of it. So coming back to these things, so you see how we do it, right? That's how we're doing it right now. So coming back to each of these elements, right? And I'm going to go through the green levels one by one here. I'm going to start with Richard and Kerry. So, well, that's what we do every quarter. So what do we do every week? So every week what we do is we basically create a flight deck, which everyone should have your flight deck now. If you don't, you can create, one. There's a template also in there to create a flight deck. So I can go straight. We have a flight deck for every one of our companies. So let me show you the difference of my Entrepreneur Institute flight deck compared to, let's say, for example, let's just put another one up. I'll pull up the Genius U flight deck, right? So here's the Genius U flight deck. So on the Entrepreneur Institute flight deck, I can go to any particular month, right? So I can go to, for example, September, and this shows me the data. And when we start our call, we have 30 minutes, and 30 minutes, the way we run the call is that each person that's on the call, they will be the project leader, and we don't walk through every these things line by line. The project leader will share the key things that they are wanting to update people on. So, for example, you might have Jess who will be saying, okay, guys, here's how it went with the workshops this week. You can see here, every week we've got the target and the actual. They all put in what their targets are. They then put in the actuals. So you can see basically in terms of our audience, we'd actually have the team like Suraj would say, right, we wanted 80,000 for the month. We got 80,743, right? Orders-wise, right? We wanted, 1.173 million in orders. We got 797. Largely because we had these cancellations. That would have taken us over $1 million. So we go, okay, so we've got to work out cancellations better based on that happening, right? But where did we do really well, right? We did really well on some of our products. We didn't do so well on other products. We had brand new products we weren't even expecting. So this allows everyone to see how we're doing. Like how much did we receive in cash, right? Well, we got 800,000 target. We received 600,000. So we're down on our cash for that one. So what are we going to do differently moving forward? So every week, so already in October, we can go to October and we can see that the numbers now are ahead of where we said they were going to be, right? So we're actually tracking, and they're pretty close to what we think. And this is the different team members actually going through this. So we'll have each of the project leaders go through it. We'll have the accounts team go through it. We'd then go through how we're doing with the events. That would basically be the first half of the call. And what's going on in the call is that, and by the way, the Genius U one looks like this, where you can see it's quite different, right? You've actually got, because there's a lot more stats in Genius U because it's a much bigger company, you actually got the top part where we actually do a breakdown to say what is the net revenue, what's the total collections, what's the gross revenue, like what's coming through on a week-by-week basis off the back of this. So like you can see September, the total on this one was we had a 1.5 million target, we hit more like 1.1. So it was down compared to the target, but it was up against our budget. So our targets are always higher than our budget. So even if we missed the target, we still hit our budget. And then the most important thing on all of this is that the team members, as they're sharing it, they're not just saying, here's where I got to, and am I ahead or am I behind? They're also sharing, here is a customer story. So everyone shares a customer story, and everyone has about 5 minutes to do their update, and that's it. Everyone goes through their update, and then after that, we kind of get where everyone's at, and then we spend the next half on the 3 I's. 3 I's stands for improvement, impediments, and issues. Anyone can put down here what is an impediment, which is things that are slowing things down, or what is an issue, right? So here's the Genius U one, right, where someone like, Michelle, will say, like Anthony will say, well, look, poor data and accuracy, right? Like we're having a problem with some of the reporting. Michelle will put down, can we add phone numbers to Salesforce with international dark codes? Like some of them are really basic things, right? We've got like stuff on here, city leader canceled event and wants to have a refund. What's the policy here? Like basic things where someone doesn't have the answer and isn't going to go running around trying to figure it out. They'll bring it to this meeting where everyone's on the call, and we'll kick through these things and turn them into improvements where they all become improvements. So you can see the size of improvements that come through here, right? There where people are basically improving on all this stuff as we go. And that it feels so good when we spend 30 minutes on just knocking over things that we're all working on together. And remember what I said before, like the way to get to 10 times telescope is to get to 10 times microscope. Like you as the leader should be spending the time with others on things that they can't solve easily to say, well, why don't we have this thing solved? Because often it's a structural thing in the company. Often it requires a new policy or a new procedure that no one actually knows about yet. And if you're not on that call, everyone will be running around trying to figure stuff out without knowing, and then trying to bug you for stuff halfway through the week, as opposed to just lumping it all into 30 minutes where you solve as much as you can in 30 minutes based on the priorities, and then you leave the rest the next week. Next week you come, solve them again, and you'd be amazed at how much you get through once everyone comes with that mindset, and how no one is kind of like, well, things are broken and we can't fix them. No one's got that mindset. Everyone's always looking to solve the things they're doing. So that kind of like answers Richard and Kerry's thing here. And how do you turn a cost base into a profit center? Well, you see that every one of our different areas is a profit center. You can do the same thing too, right? If you've got basically people that are just in your finance team, we charge out the finance team into each of the different profit centers, so they're part of those teams as well. If we have a development team, we actually link the development team to where the revenues are coming in, so they're part of a promotion team, so they see that what they're doing actually is generating revenues, and they're part of that team as well. So at the end of it, there's still a profit and loss that comes off it, and they're part of a cost towards revenue. But it's not like having just a department sitting on its own, not being aware that what it's doing is actually impacting the revenues coming in. So even the coders, even the guys in the accounts team, even the administrators, they all can see that what they're doing is actually having impact on customers. And you have to have that today. That's the difference of basically working in series, where you're waiting for someone else to do something and you've got the sales team separate from the delivery team, compared to working in a series where you've got now cross-functional teams, where you've got the sales team in there together with a key person from the accounts team, together with a key person from the coding team, and they're working basically as a team that's then going to actually deliver on that promotion. So put it all into the promotions, and then that solves your problem. I'm going to come back to Daniel and Christina on the names in a moment. I want to come through to finish up on these other ones. Path to Blue for Yayo is to do exactly what you just saw me go through. Make sure that you've actually got that the plan in place, and then actually have each of your team members putting together their promotion plan, where they're in charge of it. They've got their plan of what they need, what they need from you, and then you've actually figured out, based on them actually achieving what you want to achieve for the revenue side. Like you say, we've got 1,000 customers. What's the minimum we need to do? Do we need to bring all the books out? Do we need to bring all your content out? Or can we just bring X that actually gets to that result, right? To actually achieve that. So as an example, one of the things that we're doing, that we're going to be launching later in this quarter, is because Crystal Circle, which you're all on, has maxed out, right? So I can't bring anyone else on Crystal Circle, but we have all these people that actually we're finding want to get the value out of Crystal Circle, and I can't scale it to do that. So what we're actually doing is something that actually allows me to manage my time more effectively, which is effectively to have a level of Crystal Circle where instead of actually having every month everyone showing up for a call like this, people are actually showing up physically with me, like for basically a day or 2 days every 3 months. Where we actually will go through everyone's team charter together. We'll go through everyone's personal identity together. Like, so everyone's actually got a real takeaway, just like when you come to Masters, and everyone's getting the learning. Everyone's coming, here's my financials, here's what my biggest challenges. And then from there, you can see in that one space, in that one time, everyone basically getting a whole different experience, which is like a real hands-on experience, which works really, really well. But by doing it that way, for those who are not part of these cores, because these cores are maxed out, that allows me to be able to actually maximize my time much more as well. And then there's a promotion plan, which the Crystal Circle team are doing, where they require some of my time to do that. And so by me actually then doing that, having the launch happening next quarter, as we walk through that, I'm not the one doing any of that. They're doing it. Then they tell me what they need from me, and then I show up for those things that they need. And that's it, right? And I can then manage my time with everything else that I do. How do you train an orange to yellow level? By doing exactly what I just shared. We've got orange level people that started without any promotion plan. And then we say to them, when you're ready to run a promotion plan, you know how it's done, because you can see that there's someone that's leading that plan for you. So we've now got some people in the events team, for example, who've said to us, I'm ready for a promotion plan. I want to run my own plan. And so what we do is we go through John C. Maxwell's 4 stages of delegation, where John C. Maxwell says the way to do it is stage 1 is I do. So Jess is like, right, I'm doing it. And basically, I'm the one who's in charge of like all the actual events that we're running at the moment. And she's running 30 events, 40 events this year. Second step is what she's now going to do with a number of these guys. We put a new promotion plan in place. I do it. So I'm the leader, right? And you watch. So you tell me what you're seeing I'm doing. Okay, you know what I'm doing. You even document what I'm doing as if you're going to be showing someone else how to do what I do, right? And then the third, and we'll do that for 3 months, right? So you're now my understudy. And then the next thing is you do, right? From the beginning of next month, next quarter, you're the one who's now in charge. I'll be watching you. I'll tell you what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, what needs to be done differently. And then the fourth thing, you're on your own, right? You do, right? Such a simple process, but so many of us just throw someone in the deep end, and then we can blame them when they don't get it right. And all the nuances of what does or doesn't work, you never gave them a chance to see it. You didn't even know what they were yourself, because so many of us are in a place of unconscious competence. We just kind of do it without even knowing we're doing it. And then we expect someone else to figure all that stuff out without us actually querying Do they really get what we're doing? Do we even really get what we're doing? This allows you to actually get that clear, especially if you document it as you go, which means you effectively have a guide for a handover for that role going forward. If you say that everyone in your team have got one job description, everyone, and everyone's one job description is to work yourself out of your job, right? That's it. Because that's a learning organization that allows everyone to say, I'm not going to be in this job forever. I shouldn't be precious about my job. I should be figuring out ways that I can actually have other people do this job so I can move on to the next thing. And everyone within our organization, that's what they do, which is why they stay with us, because there's always that next step of where they want to go, and we're helping them to do that as well. So it's super duper important. Let's come over to Alex on some of the things that Alex is saying here, right? So first of all, I've answered this one down here. Let me answer this one. Mentor to JV partner. My question to Alex was, are you still getting value from that person? Because it's very possible for people to wear multiple hats. Some of you are doing that, right? It's like, well, I'm married to you and I'm also your business partner. Well, you have to separate those two hats and have them separate. So if you've got someone as your mentor and you're getting value from them, be absolutely okay for them to continue to mentor you. In fact, what we do with all of the partners that we have that come through, so we have a whole partner circle where there are people that might have been on Crystal Circle. So someone like Joe Formosa, she was on Crystal Circle, and now we're joint venture partners, right? We've created Health Dynamics together. Or Simon Zucci, who started at Crystal Circle, and then he is now working with us as an event partner for all of our events, and also Wealth Dynamics for property investors, which means he's now a joint venture partner as well. But I made it really clear as a mentor that just because they're getting to joint venture partner level doesn't mean that I wouldn't still be mentoring them, because from my side, as a joint venture, I'm not going to be operational with them, but I want to make sure I can still add the most mentoring. So they still pay just the same as every Crystal Circle member to get mentoring from me. They come on the partner circle where they're actually getting mentoring from me as well. They use that, and if anything, it's even more valuable because now they're hearing how other people that actually have got joint venture partnerships are actually working with each other as well. And then off the back of that, off they go and they actually build their business, and then they're making money as we do through the joint venture side as well. So I think it sounds to me, if he's giving value to you, just be really clear to him and say, look, when I get you mentoring me, I want to keep having those sessions. I want to keep paying for those sessions. When we're joint venture partners, you don't need to be mentoring for me for that. Let's set this up as an actual business. Let's both be actually making money from it as well, and keep the two separate. And I think if you do it that way, you're going to get the best value from both of them. And then it gets really super clear, right? Third thing, and by the way, if he ever gets to a point where he's no longer adding value to you as a mentor, which may or may not happen, say it's okay if in the future I find that I actually want to go find a different mentor, or I find it's not working the same way for you as a mentor anymore. I want you to be okay with the fact that if we're joint venture partners and I am no longer having you as a mentor, you'd still be okay. Because if he says, no, I'd never be okay with that, I'd never want to be your joint venture partner if you're not my mentor, well, it's good for you to know that now, and then make your decision if you still want to work with them at this point, if that's going to be one of those conditions, right? So it's super important to at least just have that conversation. Personal issue versus time. So this is one of the biggest challenges that I have seen, especially as success grows. Because at the beginning, you don't have a team, so you don't have that problem. As time goes on, the personal issues can really impact if you bring it into the business. And I don't just mean when things get tough and you've got to take time off. I'm even talking about when you just lose interest in the business and you want to go play golf. Like that really impacts your team, right? All these things really impact your team as well. And one thing that I really have found is the most important skill set, and this really comes down to Friday's question. What's the most important skill set to go up to green level and above? It's a word that's really misunderstood. It's the word detachment. You know, like you hear about this a lot in meditation, right? And detachment is not about not caring, right? It sounds like I'm detached from it, so I don't actually care, right? It's about being attached. It's about being attached to the outcome, right? The mission, right? But being detached to the process, right? Or another way of saying it is being attached to being fully present, right? While at the same time being detached from your own ego or emotions. Your ability to switch on and off in different situations. And so like when at iLab and at Masters, we talk about this quite a bit, that every one of us has got three parts of ourselves. And without going too deep in it, I do want to share this. I think it's super duper important. That there's 3 paths to ourselves, and those who've been to iLab, you've heard me talk about this as well. And these are actually linked to the 3 yogas, right? Which is basically karma and jhana and bhakti, right? Which basically are the 3 gods of creation, beginning and end. Beginning, sustaining, and ending. That fundamentally, if you think about this as 3 identities that we have, think about like the movies. There's the actor, which is what we call karma, right? And this is basically the person that is every day caught up in the human experience. So when Alex says, I got a personal issue, right? No matter how tragic that personal issue is, no matter how tough it is, it's a personal issue, right? So a human going through that is like watching a movie, and in the movie you see this person, you feel for that person, they're going through this tough time. That person might be having awesome stuff happening, right? And you kind of see that person going awesome as well. And in the movie, people always overshoot it. Like when things are bad, they're never as bad as they really are. When things are great, they're really never that great. And most of the time when you see someone going great at the movies, you know something terrible is about to happen. That person doesn't know it. They get caught by surprise. If something terrible is happening, something amazing is about to come around the corner, that person doesn't realize it, so they're not actually thinking that way, right? So the actor is the one that's in the human experience every day. So actor Roger every day is like in there, making mistakes, having emotional experiences, all that kind of stuff, right? But that's the illusion of life, right? That's not the core of who you are. There's the second part of who you are, which is the director. So the director is the first step of detachment, right? The director is the one that says, it's the Roger on the Sunday who says, what do we want Roger to do this next week? Last week was pretty awesome, right? Like last week was really great. Like he had a great time, but that's a kind of a boring story. Let's put him out there. Let's get him to call some people that's going to really kind of like fray his nerves. It's going to like make him like question his own confidence levels. Let's stretch him a little bit. So it's a movie worth watching, right? So this is something which is called bhakti, which is knowing the illusion, right? Which is that you get to choose the story, right? It's when you actually say, you know, like the director actually wants the actor to actually not have an easy life. The director wants the actor to have a more heroic movie that everyone wants to come and watch. So by me stepping out of me being actor Roger and actually at the beginning of the week saying, what are the roles I want Roger to play this week? I want him to be an awesome CEO, like showing up and like conquering the world with his team. I want him to solve that personal issue that he's got, but actually feel deeply about the fact that sometimes things just aren't fair, right? I want him to be that person that's actually now being of real value to his kids, right? So what are the different roles that you're putting Alex into? And it's not the same Alex that's the one that's actually experiencing it. And that becomes the director. And then the biggest one of all, which is where true detachment happens, is the third one. And it's the one who's watching the movie. So this is what I call the witness, right? This is called jhana, right? So this is basically like really deep in like Hindu philosophy, which is that our true self is not the one that shows up in emotions every day. It's not the one that even directs us to be the ones that are at a high level. It's the one that just is aware of how lucky we are to even just be alive, right? Of just being so present to this incredible universe that we live in. And the fact that we get to look through these eyes and to experience these hands and to experience this life and to breathe this air and go, well, how lucky are we, right? And that space that you come from, the witness, I mean, that's what you get when you truly detach and you get that experience. When I've ever had times in my life, and it happens all the time, when either I'm giddy with excitement or when I am totally broken emotionally, at those moments, it's the witness that gives me the breath from the swimming in the water, right? It's like, so you're not drowning. So for example, you know, I might be like going through a really tough time emotionally, right? I'm going through like a relationship breakup. I'm going through challenge with my child. And at that point, I will step out of that and I will basically walk to the beach if there's a beach there, right? I'll step out and I'll just look at the world and say how lucky to even just be here and just gets washed in gratitude where the fact that Roger's doing all this stuff is just a movie anyway. It's just another movie. And it's going to turn around. But here, how awesome to just be part of this. I'm about to go and see my team. And when I'm with my team, how awesome that they're even alive, like with me on this incredible mission. And when it washes over everything. So by the time I go to my team, I'm not the same person as the one that has a personal problem. It's a different Roger, right? It's the one that's there to support them. It's one to be fully present with who they are. This is a whole lot more difficult to do than it is to say. I get that, right? That this is about your ability to detach from one moment to move into another one. But that whole concept of living fully in the present is about giving yourself fully to every present and not be saying, well, because this thing's happening in my personal life, it means that I'm going to kind of like have to then as a result of that, like impact my company life. It's not that. It's giving yourself fully to every level. And be okay with the fact that if you're not going to be there the whole time, be okay with them to say, hey, I'm not going to be here for this meeting. I'll be here for that one. But when you show up, you're fully present for it. And it's a practice. And anyone who's having a tough time figuring that out, we won't go through it all in this call, but I highly recommend basically going out there and starting to connect up with some of the readings and some of the processes that actually allow you to actually get that level of detachment, because it is essential as an entrepreneur, especially when you've got multiple $100 million businesses or $1 billion businesses running, especially when you've got like the government coming down on you, as all the top billionaires have, to basically like, you know, make life difficult for you, especially when you're out there and you've got the markets turning on you. And if you looked at the news that came out today about the number of billionaires that lost hundreds of millions of dollars in the last 24 hours, and they've got that detachment. So for them, it's just a movie. Like, it's not impacting on their day-to-day life. So super duper important. And that's what I would share. Alex.
Would you be able to recommend anything, any reading or particular teachings that you think that would be helpful?
Yeah, I would actually. I would say that one of the biggest, like the best ones, right? Steve Jobs recommended a book. He carried it everywhere with him. And let me just make sure I get the right one. It's in here, this one. So let me get it. It's on here. King Lear. I'll find the right one. It's one of these ones. I'll just get it real quick. Let's have a look. King Lear, Moby Dick. There's another one. Thomas. Remember, now be here. This is the one. So this one here, now be here, Ram Dass. Be here, sorry, now be here now. Be here now by Ram Dass. He carried this his whole life in his pocket, like all his life, right? So be here now is everything it's everything I've just said is all in this book, right? So definitely recommend it. But I'll give you this whole link here, and then go check it out. And again, just think of, and this is where we're about to get to here, think of what you're doing as a sacred experience, right? Think of the fact that like being a bit entrepreneur gives you a mirror directly into who you are, because it gives you direct feedback as to what it is to then actually be at that level, right? Okay, so let's come over to, and again, what's the most important lesson? It's exactly what I just said. Right? It's exactly this. So you guys are going through this thing at the same time, which kind of happens with back crystal circles once they start syncing up as well, which is pretty cool. Best way to hold the team accountable, exactly the way I've just gone through it, getting them to be the ones that give you the personal compass, give you the promotion plans, and actually get that set up. If you're ever in a position where your whole team is orange level, none of them have the experience to do that, bring in an outsider, bring in someone outside that can do this. This is Waldy's question, right? What's the digital marketing approach? Like Waldy, I would, like right now, if I was you, I'd go and get somebody like Suraj, right? Because Suraj is doing this for other companies already. Just connect up with Suraj, say, hey, Suraj, if you were going to help me out, how would you do it? He'll give you a proposal. Give you guys an example, right? Like right now, I've got my new book coming out next year. It's all around my personal brand. I got recommended about a month ago that the head of Mind Valley, so some of you guys know Mind Valley, that's Vishen's company. And basically, he basically has his whole marketing going where he spends about $1 million a month on Google AdWords, $1 million a month. So he's making about $3 to $4 million a month in revenues just from Google. That's like $50 million a year. And so he had a head of marketing who left him, and then he came to Bali and got recommended in to work with us. And so I had a conversation with him, and we've got a number of orange level people in our digital marketing team at the moment. The yellow level person we had, which was Suraj, he's now moved over to Genius U. So we want to find a new yellow level person. So when I met up with Vadim, I said to him, okay, give me your proposal. What would you do? How would you do it? Give you guys an idea, right? Because I got this like 5 minutes before I got on this call. So here's Vadim's proposal, right? Consulting and SEO. So he was the head of head of marketing at Mind Valley for like 3 or 4 years. So he comes in, he says, right, here's my proposal. Got 2 offers, key observations. Roger Hamilton, big plus. Roger can do all the stuff, but your website's outdated. Activity on YouTube is better, but the quality of the videos, the tech, not the content, needs to be improved. Here's what we do: high quality content. This one, like, so he's going through and each one. Here's your issues. Here's the solutions. Here's what you got. Front end's confusing, back end is strong, right? So he's walking through them one by one, right? And then off the back of that, acquisition panels, consultation, here's what we do. Foundation discovery, month to month. Here we work through this on the first month. This is yellow level, right? Like he's giving me something where I can read, I can go through, And I'm like, I'm all for it. I took one glance at this before I got on this call. It took me like 5 minutes. He wants to charge $5,000 a month. He's going to do all of this stuff. And straight away, I'm like, I'm in. I'm doing it, right? It's like, he's got the timeline. He's got the summary. It's all so clear. And it's, 6 pages. So if you're in a point where it's like, my team can't do that. They can't give me a proposal. Go get someone to actually come on board who's going to work with you and say, I want you to give a proposal of how you're going to work with me. Get their proposal, work with them where they're already yellow level, then get your team to work with them as well. And your team will then see that you've got someone on board who's now at yellow level, what yellow level means, and then and use the templates for the promotion plan, which is what we'll do for Vadim. Then build that off the back of it. And that's what we'll always do. We'll always basically, before we go and try and train someone up from orange to yellow level, make sure we have a yellow level environment in which we can train them in the first place, which is super duper important, right? So really critical. Okay, so let's now come over to our yellow level 3 questions, which are all about promotion plans, right? So first of all, Jane, best channel for launch message. Here's the thing, right? Yes, Business Chamber would be one way to do it. I really believe LinkedIn is the way for you to go, right? For what you're doing. And LinkedIn is really taking off at the moment. Now, you've got a number of different options on LinkedIn. One is that you can actually go out and start learning this yourself or get the right person to work with you. I would recommend you connect up with Adam Houlihan. So Adam's really awesome, right? Like he's part of our network. He's doing lots of cool stuff with B1G1 right now. His whole background is LinkedIn. You can just sign straight up for this, like 4-week LinkedIn optimization course, where you're going to be able to actually track, build up your first group in LinkedIn, which is all corporate, get them focused 100% on South African leaders to be part of this as well. And he'll show you exactly how to do that, right? Even if you just take the first steps, it's really what you want to do, much more than Facebook or anything like that, right? So that's where your target audience is. But the most important thing is focus at one program and be really aware there's a huge difference of going with a corporate program, which is solving a company problem, and going for a leadership program, which is solving a personal problem. Like if you just started by saying, right, we're going to bring our first 10 people on board into a product where we are going to provide them with a talent dynamics profile, we're going to give them a debrief, and then we're going to run a workshop where it's going to be cross-company, where they're all going to come in and are going to be part of that. We're going to have 10 leaders from different companies where they're going to learn the basics of what it means to basically have a magnetic mind, right? And this is what this is going to give you. And if you just went and delivered that and then invited people in one by one to join this program where they're going to be paying money to be a part of it, or maybe even you do the first one free to get the results, and then from that you get testimonials, and then you charge for the second one, that becomes the way you launch your business, right? Because then they've got something very tangible they're going to go for, as opposed to just say, hey, Magnetic Minds has got a whole bunch of products, and then they're not quite sure how to get started, and you're not quite sure if you're successful or not. So make it a product promotion around something which is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. And if I was you, I would be using LinkedIn, and of course, using your own partnerships, getting some partners on board, and then at the same time working with others within your community as well, right? That would be the way to do it. And let me just give you the link for that as well. If we go to Daniel Christina, right? Because I mentioned this as well. This is linked into promotion because you're going to have a launch promotion for the things that you do as well. Feedback and name and enterprise promise. Here's the deal. Like, if you're happy with the name, like whatever the name is what the name is. I mean, like we have big companies like Google and Yahoo today, right? Who would have thought that those would be brand names, right? But they are. So if you're like there and saying, well, we like this name, it actually resonates with us, then great. I like Ataru. No one's got a problem with Ataru. Ataru also is a name which is just out there. So I think that the way that you're doing that is great. What I would say though is you still need to connect an unknown with a known, right? So like Katori is your name, right? So I looked at it, it's like, okay, Katori, right? It's being used for a number of different things at the moment. It's being used for jewelry. But okay, so valid. You can use Katori. But then you then mentioned sacred leadership, right? And the challenge of sacred leadership is it's got too many different terms. It's like, is that meaning something which is to do with a leader who is now on a sacred journey? Is it something to do with religious leadership? Is it like, you get the idea? There's too many. There's too many different ways of thinking about that word. I understand you're trying to create your own word, but trying to create too many brands at the same time can get dangerous, right? If I was you, I would just use authentic leadership because it's already linked to Ataru. It's already out there, right? It's already being used. Like Radka went through a long process with me to say, what do you really mean? Until she actually said, authentic leadership is what it is. And you're part of a movement of authentic leadership, which is already out there. It's the same thing as sacred leadership. It's just, you might say, authentic leadership actually has a few other nuances to actually get to the same place. But the point is, once you actually get connected to this, it gives you a link between why would you work with a Tyro? Why is it important that authentic leadership that they talk about is linked to what you mean when you're talking about, you know, leadership being a sacred journey, right? And for her, authentic is about coming truly from the place of each person's an individual, and each person basically has got so much to deliver. And if you bring out the authentic leadership in each person, that's like igniting their genius. It's the same thing, right? Which is why she uses talent dynamics and those things as well. So that would be my feedback to you as to the best way to do it. What I would say on the Wealth Dynamics workshop is what does not work. Like when we first came up with the idea of the Wealth Dynamics workshop, right? And the Wealth Spectrum workshop, the idea was always that we would be able to teach a master trainer how to deliver and set up trust on a process that would make people at the end of it be super excited to buy a product that was linked to that process. So the intention was always at the end of the first 1.5 hours, you would then be able to actually say, hey, join Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind, right? Even if you actually add your own extras onto Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind, like having a debrief session that you would do for each person, which could lead them into a Tyro, you would still have something which was easy for people to see the link in. And when we did that in Brisbane, we only had about 24, 25 people in the room that hadn't seen me before. So everyone else was either part of Jam or they were a Crystal Circle member. And out of those 25, we got 9 of them signing up, or like 8 of them signing up. We had over a third signing up, which is phenomenal. It's really good, right? After an hour and a half being with people that never actually seen me before. So we'll get the same result of something like Jam halfway through. The intention was always at the end of the Wealth Spectrum, we'd sell iLab. And at the end of Wealth Dynamics, we would sell the Masters, because it just links in with all of that content. And so people go, well, now that I get that, I want to take the next step. And so my next step is Masters. The next step is iLab. And then, of course, everyone makes money. Master Trainer makes money selling that. The host makes a lot of money selling that. And then you've got all the maximum number of people buying, and those people then want to do more stuff. And again, you can actually have a session off the back of that. You can have a bonus session, which is all about authentic leadership. Everyone comes to that bonus session that bought in for the first thing, get to know what the Tyro Leadership Program is all about, get excited for that, give them a discount because they're already coming from Masters, and then they'll book up for that as well, right? So that's the way to do it. What happened in Brisbane, which did not work, is Deborah was, we didn't do a briefing properly, so it wasn't her fault. It was really me and Jess and the team. We didn't, it wasn't until very late that I actually understood she was wanting to sell her own thing. And because she'd already gone so much down that line, I tried to change the content in the second half to build up to her product, but it just was too little too late, right? You need at least an hour and a half to build the content up, so it didn't actually work. And we only got 2 people, and the people in the room weren't quite right. And there's nothing in the actual pitch on why you come for the event would have anything to do with her product. In the same way, at the moment, there's nothing that's to do with the Tyro. So kind of like springing that on people, it kind of is too much of a leap for them to take. So I would keep at the moment to those 2 products, the Gem and Masters, and then have a Tyro sell off the back of that, and you'll get a much higher result off the back of that as well. That would be what I would say off the back of that. By the way, I do want to say this one thing before I kind of finish up with the other ones here, which is this one thing that I did in Taiwan, which actually totally transformed our results. For anyone who's doing events, or anyone who's actually even meeting with someone one by one, this was phenomenal. Like many of you know, I would never sell something from stage. I'll never stand on stage and say to people, you have to buy, because I think that's disrespecting people's time. So I'll say instead, look, if you're interested in this, stay behind for a session, and then everyone else can go, and the ones who actually want to stay behind, they'll hear about it. But what I normally do at that point is I'd actually say to people, hey, who would like to stay behind? And some hands go up, some hands don't. And then the break comes, and then the ones who hands up, they come join me. And the ones who don't, they kind of leave the room. And then I'll then have those people in the room. And then what will happen is when we get to the point on what the price point is and everything, I'll say, who would like to join? Come join me over here, and put up your hands if you'd like to join. And the hands will go up, and those people join me. And the ones who don't, they leave, right? So, and really simple, right? That's how I do it. However, what I experienced in London was that in London, we had one of our mentors, like Simon Zucci, the first time I'd ever experienced it, where no one put their hands up, right? When he did his thing, I think it was just not quite the right thing for the audience. But when I got on stage, like, who's going to come join Simon after? You can come, join him in the room after that. No hands went up. I was like, oh, okay, that was unexpected. And I was reading something, I was watching something on the plane on the way to Taiwan, which was all about social media and how Facebook said, when they got rid of the war on Facebook used to have like page 1, page 2, page 3, just like Google. And what they found was when they replaced the page 1, page 2, page 3 thing, so when you scroll to the bottom, you click to go to the next page, they changed that with just the auto load, the infinite scroll. So as soon as you go to the bottom, as you know now, on mobile or on your page, it loads the next ones and it keeps on going. And they said by you not having to click on the next thing, people stayed on Facebook 30 to 40% longer. But by them not taking action, but just keep on going. I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. So what I did at the end of the event in Taiwan was, instead of actually getting them to put their hands up, because I was like, well, maybe no one will put their hands up, so I'm not even going to ask, because they're all from Chinese, they're all Chinese, they don't have a lot of affordability. So I didn't even ask. I said, hey, if you'd like to join me, you can join me up there. And I just walked over there. And then what happened was, most people, because they hadn't actually decided if they wanted to come join me or not, they just sat there. And then some came and joined me, and others were watching them come and join me. We were laughing, we were having a good time. Others walked out to get a coffee. And then more came and joined me. And over the next 5 minutes, I got a full table. And then the same thing happened when I'm like, right, if you're actually wanting to join up, then come over here. And I'm going to go there now. And I just went over, and I didn't even ask who was going to come join. And again, same thing happened. And it was amazing, the difference that it made. And especially because quite a lot of the people that think longer, who actually have the most affordability, before, when they didn't put their hands up, they'd be like, well, I guess this isn't for me. And they'd just leave the room. Now they'd sit there and think, well, maybe it is right for me. And like, maybe I should be going over there. And then they actually joined us, and they'd be like the last to join, but they were the ones that actually were some of the best clients. So I want to share that, because sometimes it's even what you don't do that actually makes the biggest difference. And our sales were so much higher because of that. And it really made me think, geez, if I'd been doing that all the way through the year, we would have a very different result at a lot of the events that we went to as well. Okay, so final things that I want to share with Lewis, first of all. And I know I've gone over time, so apologies, guys, but I won't be more than another 5-6 minutes here. We have Lewis, targeted marketing. So Lewis, here's the thing, right? It actually doesn't surprise me that the elderly are not Googling things, right? Because it's just not what they do. And so I think you are in a really, really great position with radio, first of all, that you're on the radio. I would definitely negotiate with them to say, hey, if I do this all with you, can I get some radio slots? And make sure you're targeting them at the times when the elderly or those who are looking after the elderly, who also themselves generally are older children now, right? That they, like a lot of them, like, they're 40, 50 years old with parents who are like 70, 80 years old, right? They're listening to radio. I would definitely, if I was you, be going out there and starting to say, well, yes, the online is one thing, but like, what about bus ads, right? Like, well, what about like newspaper ads? Like going out and actually testing out in some of these areas and doing it through information in the same way that you're providing information to the radio. You could have a column which is really helping the silver generation, where people are reading it and then knowing this is what you actually deliver on, and actually doing that column and having value, and then actually trading it in for having an ad as well, where you're really creating this really great value for people, and people are catching you on the traditional media. I think that is where you're going to get the most people then following up. And then don't give them a website to go to. Give them a phone number to call, right? Because that's your audience right now, right? They're not actually even using the internet that much. For the guys who are using the internet, keep going on the targeted marketing, because obviously you're getting some result already. And then on the landing page, don't worry about, you're not even trying to be salesy. You're just looking to build trust with your customer in such a way they want to buy, which is quite different. So this one here, looking for care for an elderly loved one, inviting just 10 clients to join a live-in care service. The fact that you've actually got this already rolling, the one thing that you're missing at the moment on this, when I had a quick look at it, is that you've got great photos and so on, but you want to have a few testimonials, right? So you already want to actually have a few people who are your ideal client that you're already getting results from. You've got this kind of thing, which is really, really powerful. Actually, you've got quite a few already on here, right? But I would really look to kind of build this part up and maybe even have a video, because that's the kind of thing that people will be watching. And then that's what's going to actually allow you to grow it. But this is way better than last time already, right? I really like it. I think you've done a really good job on it as well, right? So it's already doing the right thing. And make sure you got a pop-up when people come to it the first time round, and give them information that gives them the sense that they're actually, getting the help from you. Like have a download, which is like, the most important things to know in looking after, your elderly parent, right? Or the most important things to know when really choosing the right guide. They will download those things because this is their parents, right? And if they get the sense from that you really know your stuff, they'll read it, all right? And then from there, they'll then be contacting you off the back of it, right? So that's what I would be doing, is like just value off the back of it. But this is already a big improvement already, which is awesome. And then finally with Paver, old customers leaving, yes, do call them. It's only 10 people. Find out what was the reason. Find out what they're looking for now, because there could be something else that you could do that you're not providing to them that they would actually want straight away. So number one, definitely do that. Number two, what to do with the current members. It's absolutely fine for you to go out and share the fact that you're going to be launching some new things, but rather than spring it on them, go out there and say, we've got some really exciting news. Like even though Amazon has Amazon Prime, it doesn't mean that people on Amazon Prime don't still go buy lots of different things. So for you to say, we've got some really exciting news, we're going to be launching a number of different programs and partnerships where we're going to extend the benefits of members to more things than you're getting right now, right? That's the message. And it's like, for example, here's some things coming up that you're all going to get benefits from that you currently don't have. And rather than saying we're giving you a discount, give them vouchers. Like if you're going to give 30% off a 5,000 krona or 5,000 crown program, don't say we'll give you 30% off that. Give them 1,500 digital voucher. We're giving you 1,500 crowns that you can spend on this program when it launches, right? And this is going to be valid up until Christmas if you'd like to use it. Because people that get there will go, oh, wow, this is awesome. I'm getting all this extra stuff I didn't have before. I want to use this stuff. As opposed to, why am I not getting more and more and more? Because they're already happy getting what they're getting. So we really like make it tangible what they're getting and create those vouchers. You know, say we're going to give you another 10,000, crowns worth of stuff. People get excited about that. Then go, well, there's really good value in what you're giving us. You're expanding the membership value rather than them thinking that they're going to always get stuff forever from you because you're expanding and growing with more partners. And you can tell them that. It's like we're going to keep on bringing more things to you as we go. Partnership percentage, if it's for marketing, then yes, like I said before, make it like 20%. Be really clear the difference of when you're just having a partner that's going to refer your products and getting a percentage, or when you're using their products and having a percentage, compared to partners that are buying a bunch of your products cheaper. So we make a distinction between wholesale rate. Someone can go and get something like Wealth Dynamics where we'll say, hey, if you promote Wealth Dynamics, we'll give you 30% on anything you sell. But we'll also say, if you want to buy 100 of the Wealth Dynamics tokens, we'll give you 70% off. You know, you can pay them for $30 each. We'll bill you $3,000. We'll give you 100 tokens. You can then go sell those. And actually having a wholesale rate for your partners, many of them will come and buy up front and then go and take that and sell it themselves, as opposed to basically sell on your behalf and then make a percentage. So that's the difference of wholesale rates where you're just people are bulk buying from you and it's at a better rate compared to commission rates, which is where they're just getting commission for being your partner, right? And just be aware of those two different ones as you go. And then the final thing on Waldy, I wrote this thing down here, how to be uncomfortable with being comfortable. This comes right back down to what I just said earlier when we were talking about Alex and Friday and this idea of this. As the actor is too busy. Actor Waldy is too busy to do anything. So you got to step over to director Waldy and say, is this a good movie? Do I want this to be the movie playing a year from now? Do I want it to be a different movie? If it's a different movie, I'm going to have to design the next scene, the next month, to make this actor do things differently. So here's what I'm going to do different. And you make that decision for actor Waldy, and then it gets done. And the best way to know, am I going to be happy with that or not? Go ask the person watching the movie. Go ask the witness and say, what is the life you want to be experiencing through Waldy's body, through Waldy's eyes, through Waldy's life? Is this the life you want to be experiencing? And if that witness says, no, that is not the life I want to have, like change the movie, right? Then that gives you the permission to go say, then we're going to change the movie. Even if it's uncomfortable for this person here who's got a comfortable life right now, right? Because at the end of the day, your goal is not to have a comfortable life like Once Upon a Time, Everyone Lived Happily Ever After, the end. Because that's the last movie everyone wants to watch, right? You want to have a movie which might make you uncomfortable, but it's the one that's worth watching. And I'm constantly asking myself, what do I need to do to make my comfort level uncomfortable, to lift myself up to a bigger legacy or a bigger story? And if every one of you is thinking about that for 2019, not just how do I be comfortable, but more importantly, how do I be heroic? How do I be at that next level where I get excited and a little bit like frightened about this coming year because I'm stretching myself that next step, but then that pulls you into the future. Any one of you that's feeling I'm having to push myself and push my team means you don't have a strong enough mission yet. Because if you have a strong enough mission, that pulls you, it pulls your team. You don't have to be pushed. And so just be thinking, right, then I'm going to upgrade my mission. Right? I'm going to upgrade my purpose of what I'm doing. That's then going to create the vacuum that's going to suck us all into 2019, right? And think in that way. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now and give everyone a chance to share whatever was biggest thing from this call for you. I will start with Jane.
Cool, thank you. Thanks, Roger. I think that for me, what's been profound again is the reminder. I mean, I've done masters twice now, and just the reminder of what space you're in and moving yourself. This last half an hour has just been magnificent. Yeah, thanks again. Awesome. Slap.
See you in South Africa. Looking forward to it.
Yes. Good. Thank you.
All right. Very cool. Let's come over to Joel next.
Difficult question to answer. I was slightly flapping around with too many things and not knowing what to do first, and therefore kind of doing nothing. So it's just brought a bit more of a structure to everything. And it's inspired me to really look into the ikigai, to have that vacuum to pull me into doing things rather than focusing on discipline. I think, you know, I think that's two of the main things.
Awesome. Fabulous. All right. Let's come over to Wally.
Yeah, I'm still a bit lost, but I know I have to go identify my identity. Yeah, I understand we say be comfortable with the old science that you gave us now. I got the notes.
You'll know when it's done when your schedule changes. Until the schedule changes, nothing else changes. Until you look at a week and go, oh, look at that, I've got a whole day to do nothing but work on my new business. Until that happens, it's not going to happen. So that's the clue, right? Just like you just say, when do I change my schedule? Because until that happens, nothing happens. Yeah. And treat this like going to the gym. Treat this like getting fit or going on a diet. It's like until you actually plan it, it doesn't happen. Yeah. All right, let's come over to Daniel and Christina.
Hey, Roger. For me, it was linking an unknown to an unknown. I forgot about that. And there's a few other areas where that's going to come up for us.
Yeah, I think the same. We just need to have a conversation around the sacred leadership, what our actual promise is, our enterprise promise. But yeah, great. Brilliant goal to score. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Cheers, Roger.
All right, fabulous. Let's come over to Lewis.
Thank you for those points. For me, a couple of things. Just some tips on the landing page there to sharpen that up, and absolutely video and a download I think would work well. And also bus advertising just to help us push that out there. But I think that I had got pulled towards the whole digital thing, but I was thinking wider than that. And I think I've kind of been influenced to go towards the digital and come away from some of the other stuff that I was thinking about. So it's good to have your perspective on that to push me back into that direction, because there's loads that we can maximise from that. But I think the sort of unexpected one was the 3 I's, because our management team is growing. This month our staff team is growing by 20. So there's lots of challenges and problems that are coming up. And I've got things in the back of my head thinking I need to solve that. People coming to me, people coming to Gavin. So to have that centralised and to push that back to people is going to be a huge time saver. So I think just a little tip like that is going to save me, hours and hours every week.
Absolutely. And it stops the culture becoming a complaining culture, because if there's too many things that aren't changing quick enough, then everyone goes, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But if everyone knows, okay, if there's anything wrong, it's up to you to put it down and get it solved, and they see it getting solved, it changes the culture very quickly.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, let's come over to Yayoi.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me all of the need for documentation. Well, just saying it makes me so painful, but very great call. I really have to align myself to be great and more committed to this. But now that Haruka will be attending this, and then it's good. I mean, she attended it a little bit, so that was a good step. So I'll keep on working, and also the fact that I shouldn't be dumping out my content. Instead, I should really cater to the needs of the clients. That's great. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, thank you, Yayo. And Teva. Oh, you're still on mute there. You unmuted? Bottom left? Same as last time. Or Darius, can you help them unmute? Nope. Okay, there you go.
We're so glad we know we have to contact the people who left, because it's really important. We're going to know new things from that. And yeah, it's really important for me.
Good.
And also the thing with the Wusher, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's
you
good,
have
good
a new
idea.
way how to see this thing.
Yeah, so we'll definitely try.
Yeah, and thank
Fabulous.
you
very good. Awesome. Brilliant. And Alex.
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations on your Thailand deal. I love seeing things like that. because it's got very close to my own business. So it was fantastic to see how you created that deal. So really good work on that, Roger. So hopefully it comes off. And I'd like to go, looking forward to visiting it sometime shortly. From my takeaway, I think it was the stuff around the personal side of things and this triangle that you were putting out. I think that really, that detachment side, I do try to practice that, and it comes down to the mindfulness as well, and just being present about what you've got around you, and trying to separate those things, but just being grateful for being alive at points. So I think that's a really good reminder. I've already ordered that book you've mentioned.
Great.
So Great. And hopefully that will help things for the next couple of weeks.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very cool. And Friday.
Oh, yeah. Good. It was a good chat. Biggest thing probably would be, I reckon, time to play a new movie.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. that was quite good, just hearing it that way.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, 2019, round the corner. Like, you get a chance to do it all over again, right? So next spin around the sun, what do you want to have happen in 2019? On the next call, we'll go through and give everyone a chance to really kind of vision out the next 12 months, because we're always looking 1 month ahead and what we're doing and so on. But this is a perfect time for us to actually go think about it. So do think about that. Even take the time out to write your future vision for 2019 as well, if you haven't done that yet. Meet with your team. Plan out the year if you haven't done that as well. It's worth doing, even if you can only afford a day to do it, right? And take them off site somewhere and say, let's map out next year. What do you want to vision? What do you want to see? It just gives everyone that ability to start really thinking green level. All right, and we will catch up with you. If you're coming to Bali, we'll see you in Bali. Otherwise, I'll see you maybe in South Africa, maybe see you in England. But looking forward to the next couple of months coming up. And we'll catch up with you all later. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.